Chapter 356. Everything happened too quickly. It was so fast that no one expected someone to jump off the building. The person who jumped off the building was the young master of the Bai family, Bai Qi. Guan Yanxin was still unaware of what was going on. Her beautiful eyes were currently closed as she enjoyed Zhu Tian's kiss. Meanwhile, the corner of Zhu Tian's mouth was curled into a strange smile. During the Guan family's banquet, the Bai family's young master committed suicide by jumping off a building. The reason was that he was insulted by Tang family's Tang Wushuang. Originally, the two families were in the limelight, competitors of aristocratic families. Now that Bai Qi had been humiliated by Tang Wushuang to the point of committing suicide by jumping off a building, as the elder sister, it was impossible for Bai Cixin to let the Tang family off just like that. Right now, Tang Wushuang was also very stupefied. Just now, he had accidentally bumped into this little brat's head, and this fellow, relying on his status, actually dared to speak rudely to him. Originally, Tang Wushuang didn't want to fuss about it, but who knew that he would scold him a little more. Damn it, he actually jumped off the building. Is your heart made of tofu? With such a thing happening, the two clan heads naturally couldn't leave. They had to uphold justice. Bai Qi's corpse was quickly carried up. Although it was covered by a white cloth, the blood had already dyed the white cloth red. Jumping from such a high place, his death must have been very miserable. In the end, he was just a hedonistic son of a rich family. He didn't even know how to fly. Bai Cixin stared at her younger brother's corpse. It was only then that she did not realize that humans and ghosts were completely different. After his parents passed away, they told him to take good care of his younger brother. He didn't expect that he would break his promise. Bai Cixin didn't cry, but her pair of beautiful eyes were red and ice-cold as she stared fixedly at Tang Wushuang. Looking at his brother-in-law committing suicide, Wang Debao was worried for his wife. Zhu Tian hugged Guan Yanxin and stood at the side, watching. Guan Yanxin asked, Zhu Tian, why don't you think this child can understand? Youngsters are all impulsive. They can't stand being humiliated, so they act recklessly. Absolute Heaven said calmly. His words caused everyone to nod their heads. However, Bai Cixin did not agree. She stretched out her slender hand, and the 9 demons punishing tower appeared in her hand. It emitted a ghostly mist, and the temperature of the scene dropped instantly. 9 demons punishing tower. That's the legendary 9 demons punishing tower. Heavens, this 9 demons punishing pagoda is really amazing. Guan Tong shouted in a deep voice, Bai Cixin. What are you doing? Patriarch Guan. What do you think I'm going to do? I want to avenge my brother. Bai Cixin shouted coldly. Jiang Yuanzhou said indifferently, By family head, this is your younger brother's suicide, and no one harmed him. Tang Wushuang was just too extreme with his words. Furthermore, your two families are currently in the midst of the election, and Voidless Realm forbids your two families from fighting each other. If not, you will lose the right to participate in the election. Jiang Yuanzhou reminded Bai Cixin that if she fought now, she might lose the chance to run for the position of an aristocratic family. Tang Wushuang didn't have any intention of apologizing at all. In fact, he even wanted to infuriate Bai Cixin into making a move on him. This way, he would be able to sit on the position of the aristocratic family head. By family head, your younger brother's mental quality is extremely poor. Tang had only helped you to discipline him for a while, and now, he's unable to think straight. My condolences. Tang Wushuang's words almost caused Bai Cixin to go berserk. Fortunately, Wang Debao stopped her and reminded her in a deep voice, Honey. Calm down, if you make a move now, Bai Qi will have died for nothing. Bai Cixin stared fixedly at Tang Wushuang. Bai Cixin was also well aware of the consequences of him making a move on Tang Wushuang. Of course, he had to take revenge for Tang Wushuang, but not here. Don't tell me that Tang Wushuang isn't responsible for my younger brother's death. Bai Cixin questioned. Guan Tong and Jiang Yuanzhou glanced at each other. Actually, the death of a person wasn't a big deal, but the death was indeed from an aristocratic family, which was more troublesome. Although Tang Wuxuang didn't do anything, he still insulted Bai Qi, and this caused Bai Qi to commit suicide by jumping off the building. If one were to say that Tang Wuxuang wasn't at fault, it wouldn't make sense. Guan Tong said in a deep voice, "Bai Cixin, I deeply sympathize with what happened to you, but the dead can't come back to life. My condolences." The meaning of these words was a little biased. Bai Ci had completely tricked him. This was bullying. Wang Debao was unconvinced and said angrily, "This Tang Wuxuang clearly knows that the two families are in the midst of the election, and yet, he still insulted the two families, causing my brother-in-law's younger brother to commit suicide by jumping off a building. This is already considered as harming the two families, and Voidless Realm has given strict orders to the two families to not have any casualties. Right now, my brother-in-law's younger brother died in vain. Are we just going to let it go like this?" Tang Wuxuang explained, "Wang Debao. You're twisting words and forcing logic. I told him to jump off a building. Was I wrong to call him a playboy? Ask everyone, is this Bai Qi a playboy or not? Little girl, I saw that you were bullied by Bai Qi for a very long time tonight. Do you think that a man like him is a playboy or not?" Tang Wuxuang asked Dongfang Yuan, In actuality, everyone had eyes, and this Bai Qi was indeed this kind of person, and he treated this little girl extremely badly. How would Dongfang Yuan dare to comment on this matter? Upon seeing that, Tang Wuxuang said, "Look. The little girl is scared to the point that she doesn't dare to speak. That's why, what's wrong with me saying that he is a playboy? Did he break the law?" Tang Wuxuang's explanation seemed to be a bit reasonable. Both sides had their own opinions, and it was hard for the two family heads to make a judgment as well. After all, they were both participating in the election. Guan Tong said faintly, "How about this? I will report this matter to the higher-ups and let Voidless Realm judge this matter. What do the two of you think?" Bai Cixin and Tang Wuxuang didn't have any objections. Zhu Tian pondered silently. In the end, this matter has reached the ears of the two madams. Right now, let's see how the two madams are going to judge this matter. According to the madam's personality, they will definitely judge this matter as innocent, and Bai Cixin will definitely not accept it. Then, what I have to do next is to think of a way to make the two madams give the wrong verdict. At this moment, all kinds of good ideas appeared in Zhu Tian's mind, and I will definitely make things difficult for the two madams. Bai Cixin kept her ancient godly item. In her eyes, it was Tang Wuxuang who killed her little brother, and she will definitely take revenge for this. The banquet finally ended. Although it wasn't as great as Yi family's banquet, it was still an eye-opener. This bespectacled man will definitely become famous, and the prerequisite is that he will be able to live past tonight. Zhu Tian looked at Dongfang Yuan, who was all alone, and walked forward. Meanwhile, Guan Yanxin followed closely behind him. Right now, Guan Yanxin was very obedient. However, Guan Yanxin wasn't disgusted by Zhu Tian's behavior. Born in this family, if a man doesn't have a few wives, he will seem very low and weak. In any case, it's fine as long as I'm the first wife. Student Dongfang. Zhu Tian shouted. Dongfang Yuan turned her head around and took a look, then immediately turned her head around and walked forward. This caused Zhu Tian to doubt his own appearance. In actuality, Dongfang Yuan didn't like to see Zhu Tian and Guan Yanxin together, and thus, she didn't want to pay attention to them. However, Zhu Tian didn't want to let Dongfang Yuan off. He pulled Dongfang Yuan over and asked, "Are you all right?" "Professor Zhu, let go of me," Dongfang Yuan said sternly. However, that soft voice of hers didn't have a bit of persuasiveness at all, and there was even a hint of coquettishness to it. Zhu Tian looked at Dongfang Yuan and said, "In actuality, this is also pretty good, don't you think so?" Chapter 357. Extending his hand to hold Dongfang Yu's ice-cold little hand, Zhu Tian faintly said, "Dongfang Yu, teacher knows that your heart is not feeling well, but as a psychology and hypnosis professor, I will help you. Guan Yanxin, who was at the side, rolled her eyes. Only an innocent lady like Dongfang Yu would believe your nonsense. Of course, there was also him. He was really excited tonight. Dongfang Yuan didn't speak because she was in a very strange mood, excited and painful at the same time. The three of them sat in the Ferrari and left. Of course, Zhu Tian was carrying Dongfang Yuan. She was petite in the first place, so when he carried her, she felt even more soft. Of course, absolute heaven wouldn't be courteous. He gently caressed her, don't move around recklessly. This is a psychological counseling technique. What a despicable method of swindling people. Even Yihua disdained to do such a thing. If she said that she didn't like Zhu Tian, Dongfang Yue would definitely not let him touch her. The incident that had just happened at the staircase was still vivid in her mind. Professor Zhu was a good person. He had saved her and protected her. Such a favor must be repaid. After all, the professor was the second person in the world who had helped him. As far as he could remember, his parents had never been together. His mother rarely came home. Sometimes, she would come home once a month, sometimes once a year. Even his father had lost his memory. This time, his mother had sold herself out. Towards absolute heaven's assistance, Dongfang Yuan was sincerely grateful. Hence, no matter what absolute heaven did, Dongfang Yuan would not resist. Hey, are you guys okay? Guan Yanxin was jealous. After all, she was the main wife. She had to be fair. Zhu Tian slowly lifted Guan Yanxin's chin. It'll be your turn soon. After arriving at Absolute Heaven's dormitory, Absolute Heaven had no intention of letting them off tonight. Just like what Lai Gu had said, only by letting them feel comfortable would I be able to obtain more information. For the sake of information. Absolute Heaven, throw caution to the wind. For Absolute Heaven, a small room with one bedroom and one living room was more than enough. Opening the fridge, Absolute Heaven took out a strange bottle of wine. This was not wine, but winged saliva. This wasn't a very powerful divine beast, it couldn't even reach the level of a spiritual beast, but it was extremely rare, because the saliva that dripped out had a mysterious fragrance. Absolute Heaven had once offered this kind of winged saliva to Yihua, but Yihua didn't think much of it. Just like how cats loved the smell of blood, Absolute Heaven was also a cat. However, the concentration of the winged saliva was close to that of alcohol. It was even very high, but it did not have the smell of alcohol. Professor, could it be that he drugged it? Guan Yanxin said sweetly, her beautiful eyes sparkling. Even if it was drugged, he would still drink it. Dongfang Yuer's beautiful eyes were filled with determination. Anyway, she had to repay this debt of gratitude. Fortunately, it was tonight. Without waiting for Guan Yanxin to drink, Dongfang Yuan raised her head and drank. The taste is not bad. It tastes like Lihaha's calcium milk. Sour and sweet. Why are you even more impatient than me? Guan Yanxin also drank it. However, after waiting for a long time, he didn't faint or get drunk. Zhu Tian poured another cup for the two of them. If you have any troubles, just tell teacher. Teacher will be your strong support. This winged saliva could even destroy the weakest part of a person's heart, causing them to develop trust. For example, when Absolute Heaven used his strong backing to break through Dongfang Yuer's defenses, it caused her to cry. Don't keep it in your heart. Zhu Tian patted Dongfang Yuer's back and consoled her. To Dongfang Yuer, she had too many burdens on her shoulders. Her mother was not at home, and she could only follow her grandmother. But her grandmother told her many things, and before she died, she even told her, the Dongfang family was wrongly accused, and you must clear Dongfang family's name. Professor, my Dongfang family was wrongly accused. Dongfang Yuer could not hold it in anymore and shouted. Zhu Tian's lips curled up. As expected. Then who is the one who wrongly accused the Dongfang family? Zhu Tian continued to ask. The current 5 great families. Dongfang Yu'er choked with sobs. She was so weak, and how could she win against those people? Zhu Tian was very excited to get this information. 100 years ago, the 5 great families wrongly accused Dongfang family, causing all the males in the family to be killed. If this matter was exposed, it would be a huge blow to Dongfang family's wife. Yenxin, don't you have anything to say? Zhu Tian asked curiously. Guan Yenxin smiled. I have seen too many of the scandals of the aristocratic families. I don't want to say anything, and I don't want to get involved. Indeed, you don't need to get involved, you just need to say it to yourself. Don't worry, teacher will help you. Zhu Tian said softly. His words were filled with incomparable confidence, causing Dongfang Yu'er to believe him. Guan Yenxin also raised her hand and smiled. I will help you too. Zhu Tian was very puzzled. Guan Yenxin smiled and explained, ever since father took over my grandfather's position, he changed. I don't want father to continue changing. If possible, I wish to live in a small family. Zhu Tian nodded his head. This kind of exchange is not excessive. Take it as your reward for helping me. Don't worry, I will help you realize your wishes. The 2 girls smiled faintly, but their smiles were filled with bitterness. Gradually, Dongfang Yu'er and Guan Yenxin laid on the table, drunk. Zhu Tian was a little irritated. He had chosen a despicable method to make them drunk. However, when he thought about what was going to happen, he felt as if something was stuck in his chest, causing him to want to vomit. Without a choice, Zhu Tian carried the 2 beauties onto the bed and took off their clothes. Looking at the flawless bodies in front of him, Zhu Tian didn't feel any temptation, and he only felt that the urge to vomit had lessened by quite a bit. Lai Gu, if your method doesn't work, I will report it to his honor and have his honor beat you up. Lai Gu expressed that it depended on the person, and if I lose, don't blame me for being weak. Zhu Tian turned over and pressed onto Dongfang Yu'er's body, then silently closed his eyes, just treat it as if I was bitten by a little puppy. Gritting his teeth, Zhu Tian deeply merged into Dongfang Yu'er's body. In less than 2 minutes, Dongfang Yu'er couldn't hold on anymore. Zhu Tian could only change his target, and Guan Yenxin couldn't hold on for more than 5 minutes. Zhu Tian felt that he should be done serving the 2 girls, and it's time to call it a day. So disgusting, they are all stained with some unknown liquid. Early in the morning, the magpies played a joyous symphony, seemingly celebrating the 2 girls becoming women. Although the experience was only a few short minutes, at the very least, the 2 girls had successfully transformed. After Zhu Tian finished serving the 2 girls last night, he slept on the sofa, because he was afraid of vomiting. At this moment, the 2 girls woke up faintly, and they immediately felt a certain part of their body aching. When they opened up the blanket to take a look, what an obvious bloodstain, and furthermore, there are 2 of them. Guan Yenxin and Dongfang Yu'er didn't become excited, it was as if they already knew what would happen. However, when they saw that Zhu Tian actually slept on the sofa and didn't sleep on the bed with them, they felt a bit strange in their hearts. Chapter 358. Absolute Heaven was very depressed. It was clearly you guys who were shouting that you couldn't do it anymore, yet now, you are still thinking of doing it yourself. How could this be? Professor Zhu, Teacher Zhu, come quickly. I don't even know what it feels like. Guan Yenxin was indignant. This was the most important moment in her life, and it was gone just like that. She didn't even get to taste the sweetness. Vexation could be seen between Zhu Tian's brows. However, he was also worried that Guan Yenxin would not listen to his words. According to what Lai Gu said, I have to *ck her until she is completely obedient. Thinking up to this point, Absolute Heaven felt slightly nauseous. Fortunately, he had not eaten anything yet. Zhu Tian stood up. Guan Yenxin's beautiful eyes lit up. Professor Zhu's strength was very strong. Dongfang Yuan, who was at the side, turned her head. She had already repaid him, and it could be said that she had fulfilled one of her wishes. Enduring the slight pain, Dongfang Yuer stood up. However, she was pressed back onto the bed by absolute heaven, who had walked over. Standing by the side, Guan Yanxin gulped down a mouthful of saliva. She did not know why, but when she saw Zhu Tian pressing down on Dongfang Yuer, she felt an indescribable sense of stimulation and excitement. Where are you planning to go? Zhu Tian asked coldly. Dongfang Yuan didn't dare to look at Zhu Tian's eyes and weakly said, I'm going to class. Today, I'll give you a good lesson. You're not allowed to go anywhere, Absolute Heaven said in a deep voice. Today, he would make the two of them obedient. As he spoke, he cupped his fists. Dongfang Yuan's charming face was filled with shock. She felt as though her body was about to break apart. Her slender palm pressed on Zhu Tian's chest. Very soon. Dongfang Yuan let out an alluring moan. 2 minutes later. Zhu Tian. I can't take it anymore. Dongfang Yuan's stamina was unable to keep up with the tempo. Absolute Heaven was too ferocious, and Dongfang Yuan's delicate body was simply unable to endure Absolute Heaven's torment. Zhu Tian asked coldly, will you be obedient in the future? I'll listen. I'll listen to you. Dongfang Yuan felt like she was about to faint. Hearing Dongfang Yuan's reply, Absolute Heaven felt relieved. Guan Yanxin, who was at the side, couldn't wait any longer. It was too exciting, Zhu Tian, come and get me 10 minutes later. Ah. I don't want it anymore. I don't want it anymore. I surrender. Under Absolute Heaven's indiscriminate bombardment, Guan Yanxin persisted for 10 minutes before finally fainting. However, Absolute Heaven did not feel anything at all. Standing up, he glanced at the two people on the bed before disappearing from the room. Because I have important information to report to His Honor. Today, Yi Hua woke up very early, and Qin Yutong also changed a little today. Qin Yutong actually woke up very early to prepare breakfast for her brother-in-law. Did Yi Hua still not know what Qin Yutong meant? She wanted him to let her sister off lightly? How could that be possible? Brother-in-law, is this porridge hot? Yutong will help you blow it, brother-in-law. Is the temperature of this milk okay? Do you need Yutong to help you heat it up? It's still human body heating, so that you can understand it. Yi Hua, who was looking at Conan, turned his head around and asked, Yutong, are you that free? It's everyone's responsibility to serve their brother-in-law. Then give birth to brother-in-law's children. Ah, brother-in-law, you are so hateful, always thinking of doing bad things. Qin Yutong said while pinching her orchid-shaped fingers. Yi Hua said faintly, then scram. Bad brother-in-law, it has already been one night. Your anger should have more or less dissipated by now, right? Let's go and fetch big sister back together. Qin Yutong had done so much foreshadowing, wasn't it all for the sake of them reconciling? Yi Hua drank a mouthful of warm milk, not going. Brother-in-law, could it be that you don't miss Ali? Ali should also practice living independently. What's wrong with brother-in-law? In the past, when big sister gets angry, although he would also look angry on the surface, in his heart, he would always think of how to coax her. Look at this time, he completely doesn't have the intention of coaxing her at all. It has already been one day. Are they playing for real? Brother-in-law, Qin Yutong once again walked forward coquettishly and hugged onto Yi Hua's arm. Scram. All right. Looking at his sister-in-law leaving, Yi Hua slightly wrinkled his brows. These two ignorant women, I gave them an entire night's time, and yet, they still haven't returned. From the looks of it, they are determined to go against me. Not bad. Your guts have grown big, to dare to unscrupulously anger me just because you think that you are the woman that I love dearly. Subordinate pays respect to your honor. Zhu Tian's figure suddenly appeared beside Yi Hua, then knelt down on one knee and paid respect to Yi Hua. Get up, is there any progress? Yi Hua drank another mouthful of milk. Sister-in-law's milk is not bad, it has quite a nice texture. Zhu Tian stood up and said respectfully, after subordinates sacrificed my physical body, I received a huge reward. Pooh. Hearing Zhu Tian's report, Yihua spurted out the milk. Sacrificed your physical body, received a reward? Tell me, how did you sacrifice your physical body? Zhu Tian did not feel embarrassed at all. He told Yihua about the entire process, and he even sold out Lai Gu. It was clear that Zhu Tian wanted Lai Gu to be the scapegoat. However, after Yihua heard what Zhu Tian said, he was thinking about another question. Could it be that I didn't *ck them until they were completely submissive? Thinking about it, Dongwang Baiji made a move on me 3 years ago, while Qingye made a move on me only a few months ago. After tasting that wonderful feeling, they definitely wanted me to pamper them again, but in the end, I actually didn't do it. Thus, they became angry. This theory of Lai Gu's is not bad, he grasped the main point. It is precisely because they are too energetic, and also because they have a grudge against me, that's why they came up with this plan. But even so, do you think that I am that kind of person? You two can do whatever you want, it is your honor for me to pamper you two. To actually quarrel with me over this kind of thing, after I teach you two a lesson, I will make you two unable to get off the bed. Let's see if you two still have the energy to quarrel with me. Oh right, how do you plan to deal with those two women? Yihua asked curiously. Could it be that this iron tree has blossomed? To actually force them to drink wine, I have never been so shameless before. Zhu Tian slightly lowered his head to show respect, then said, after this, I will fulfill their wishes. After that? Yihua continued asking. Zhu Tian wrinkled his brows, that's all. Yihua took out a cigarette and lit it up, then said faintly, Zhu Tian, I will have to criticize you for this. Zhu Tian's expression tensed up, then immediately knelt down in front of Yihua, accepting the Supreme Overlord's criticism. Subordinate knows his mistake, Your Honor, please forgive me. Wait for me to finish speaking first. Yes. Zhu Tian continued to lean over and listen to Zhu Tian's words. Yihua didn't have any intention to wake Zhu Tian up and said faintly, men should be responsible for what they should be responsible for. Although what you did can be considered as a play, you took away the other party's first blood, and furthermore, the first blood was taken away by you while you were deceiving them. It can be seen just how sad they will be when the time comes. But Your Honor, Zhu Tian really doesn't like women, he isn't targeting them. Zhu Tian hurriedly explained. Yihua's expression turned cold, did I allow you to speak? Your Honor, please forgive me. Chapter 359. Zhu Tian, Your Honor, if you were honest, your wife wouldn't have left home. Just thinking about it was enough. Saying it out loud was a crime punishable by death. Thank you for your guidance, Your Honor. Get up. Thank you, Your Honor. Yihua flicked away that half a stick of cigarette ash and continued, in this aspect, you have to learn from Lai Gu and Wei Chang. Since you have already slept with them, in the future, I will stay by your side and properly serve you, I will be at ease. Just a moment ago, Absolute Heaven was still regretting. He regretted that he had impulsively taken those two women yesterday night, and he was even prepared to go and fight with Lai Gu. However, after hearing what his honor had said just now, Zhu Tian was so moved that he prostrated himself in admiration. So it turns out that his honor cares so much about me, and because his honor was afraid that I wouldn't have anyone to serve me, his honor found a woman for me. The sun and moon can bear witness to his honor's intentions. I, Zhu Tian, am terrified. Zhu Tian could be seen bowing respectfully to Yi Zichen, then saying gravely, thank you, Your Honor, for showing concern to your subordinate. Zhu Tian, you two have followed me through fire and water for so many years, it is time for you two to enjoy life. The gentleness of human women is indeed pleasurable, but sometimes, I really want to beat them to death. Originally, he was quite happy about it. However, when he thought of Qingye and Donghuang Baiji's actions yesterday, he became angry. Zhu Tian said in a low voice, the wife chosen by his honor is definitely a phoenix among men. It is normal for her to have a bit of a temper. All right, stop putting in good words for them. Is there any progress? Reporting to your honor, it is a breakthrough. Yi Hua's eyes lit up. The sooner I can slap their faces, the better it will be. After all, the earlier they will be able to come back to me, the earlier I, the Supreme Overlord, am going to be living by myself, empty, lonely, and cold. Tell me. Yes. Following which, Absolute Heaven recounted everything that had happened last night, as well as some of his own thoughts. After hearing that, Yi Hua took a deep breath. Well done. Hearing his honor's praise, Zhu Tian felt that he had succeeded in selling himself. I hope your honor can give me some pointers. Zhu Tian was still very smart. All of the credit belongs to his honor, and I was only following his honor's instructions. Yi Hua was also very satisfied with Zhu Tian's attitude. Zhu Tian, what you mean is that we should spread the news about the longevity fruit to the north, thereby arousing the greed of the people in the north, and from there, we will be putting pressure on Voidless Realm? That's right. Yi Hua laughed lightly, and a trace of coldness could be seen in his gaze. Have you forgotten about their status in the south? Absolute Heaven frowned. Right now, the powers in the south are treating the two of them as female deities. If the news about the longevity fruit had started from the south, I reckon that these people wouldn't be calling them female deities, and instead, they would be shouting that everyone is equal. After finished speaking, Yi Hua laughed lightly. The person you saved back then came back to cheat you. That must feel pretty good, right? In the end, you will understand a principle: only I treat you the best in this world. Your honor is wise, subordinate is truly too slow-witted. Zhu Tian praised. Yi Hua said faintly, if the distribution of the longevity fruit is not handled properly, Voidless Realm, hee. Yi Hua had seen too many treasure-snatching battles. Regardless of whether it was an ally, a boss, or a brother, whoever that was in the way would be killed. Not to mention something that could extend one's lifespan. Luckily, Donghuang Baiji didn't tell me about this. If not, she would definitely suspect that I was the one who leaked this information. Not bad. But when I think about it, isn't he a little too distrustful of me? It's such a big matter, yet he didn't even tell me about it. In the future, I will definitely not spank you. Instead, I will make you beg for mercy. However, I will not forgive you. Upon thinking about how Qingye and Donghuang Baiji would be begging for mercy, Yi Hua couldn't help but feel pleased. Yi Hua continued, we must definitely find evidence to prove the injustice done to Dongfang family. We must do whatever it takes, but we must not be found out. I am really curious how they will judge this case. Also, think of a way to make those families fight against each other. Zhu Tian said solemnly, Your Honor, do you want subordinate to make some arrangements for Shao family? You can make arrangements, don't let them be too idle. Yes. After finished talking with Yi Hua, Zhu Tian returned to the dormitory. Looking at the two young girls who were lying on the bed, Zhu Tian felt that he should rest for a bit first and think about how to set up a trap for Shao Yi. As for spreading the news in the south, his honor will make the arrangements. Yi Hua, who was sitting on the sofa, contacted Wei Chang. Right now, Wei Chang was currently waiting for Tang Wei in the university, and Wei Chang was currently holding onto a bouquet of flowers. This old man still knows how to be romantic. However, upon hearing his honor's message, Wei Chang immediately disappeared from the campus. Coincidentally, Tang Wei rushed over at this moment and discovered that Uncle Wei wasn't around at all. To think that Uncle Wei said that he was going to give me a surprise. Your Honor. Go on having family, no, send someone to spread a piece of news. Make sure that those families are the first to know about it. Wei Chang didn't like to ask too many questions. I only need to do as his honor says. Yes. Yi Hua let out a breath. Right now, the chess pieces are already in place. Little Qingye and Baiji, how can the two of you be my opponent? Hurry up and come back and apologize to me. After that, promise me what you did to me unconditionally. Perhaps, I will let bygones be bygones. When Wei Chang returned to the university, he looked around. Why isn't Xiao Tang here yet? Right now, at Voidless Realm, Donghuang Baiji had just finished holding a court meeting. After returning to Donghuang Li's courtyard, Qinya and Ali were temporarily staying together. Qinya was currently playing with Donghuang Li, and seeing that her mother had returned, Donghuang Li pounced onto her mother's embrace excitedly. "Mommy, are we going back now? Ali didn't even kiss Daddy this morning." Donghuang Baiji laughed tenderly. "Ali, Daddy has been very busy recently. Didn't you see that Aunt Qinya and I have returned?" "Humph, Li isn't a child anymore. You two just made Daddy angry." After saying that, Ali pouted her little mouth and put on a look of, "You two are bad guys." The two women had a helpless look on their faces. This Ali is too biased, she is always on her father's side. Donghuang Baiji could only coax her daughter, "Ali, be good, play in Voidless Realm for a few days. After that, Mommy will bring you back to look for Daddy." "Really?" Donghuang Li asked while blinking her big eyes. Really? True, that's great. Don't look at how little Donghuang Li is. In actuality, she knows a lot of things. Taking advantage of the fact that she is a child, Donghuang Baiji made use of the fact that her daddy and mommy will not continue to quarrel with each other. After letting the maid bring her daughter to play, Donghuang Baiji sat at the opposite of Qinya and let out a sigh. Soon after, Donghuang Baiji poured a cup of tea. "What's the matter? Why are you frowning?" Qinya asked curiously. "This voidless realm is a good place. It would be great if Yihua could come over and stay here for a long time. During the court meeting today, Yuchuan reported a matter. Just last night, Bai family's young master was insulted by Tang family's family head, and in the end, Bai family's family head committed suicide by jumping off a building. Bai family's Bai Zixin requested for Bai family's family head to give him an explanation. However, since both families are candidates for the position of Bai family's family head cannot act recklessly." Donghuang Baiji felt a headache. "I told them not to fight, and now, someone even died." Chapter 360. Tang Wushuang also didn't instigate Bai Qi to jump off the building. Hearing Donghuang Baiji's words, Qinya asked confusedly, "Baiji, do you think that Yihua is adding fuel to the fire?" After I heard it, I also thought the same way. Therefore, I asked about the situation at that time in detail. There wasn't anything abnormal. Tang Wushuang and Bai Qi had a physical conflict and started to scold each other. In the end, it became a tragedy. Qinya silently nodded her head. If this was really done by Yihua, how could there be so many details? That clumsy fool only knows how to touch all day long. However, Bai Qi suddenly jumped off the building for no reason, so the two women were a little suspicious. It had to be said that Absolute Heaven had handled the details very well, making it so that others would not be able to see the truth of the matter, making it seem as if it was real. Qinya asked, "What do you plan to do? After all, you ordered them not to make a move. Now that someone has died, it seems to go against your words." This was what Donghuang Baiji was puzzled about. If I don't pursue this matter, wouldn't I be slapping my own face? If he were to pursue the matter, what reason would he use to pursue it? Just because you scolded someone, that person's heart became weak and couldn't take it anymore and committed suicide. Yet, you want to pay with your life? This is too absurd. I have never encountered such a thing before. Qinya, what do you think I should do? Right now, Donghuang Baiji really wanted to sleep on the bed and be hugged by Yihua. Now, he had only been out for a day, and something very troublesome had already happened. It was hard for Qinya to say who was at fault, but she did put forward an interesting point of view. "Baiji, if this matter was arranged by Yihua, what is his intention?" Qinya said with a smile. Donghuang Baiji took a sip of tea. Those moist lips were Yihua's favorite. If Yihua is really the mastermind behind all of this, then his goal should be right now. The two women looked at each other and smiled. With Yihua's personality, it is indeed possible. However, in the end, it is just a hypothesis, and there is no evidence to prove it. Right now, Qinya also missed Yihua. If Yihua was here, he would definitely have a lot of crooked reasoning. Although his reasoning was a bit crooked, it seemed to be effective. Could it be that she had wronged him? But you can't yell at me like that. No matter what, I'm your wife. What's wrong with saying a few nice words? Women don't need to be coaxed. On the contrary, Yihua never knows how to coax a woman. The two women discussed for a long time and finally came to a conclusion. Tang Wushuang gave a warning and consoled by family by giving them a bottle of bejeweled jade immortal dew as an excuse. Very quickly, the two families received the same result. Tang Wushuang was very unhappy with the warning punishment. What does that brat jumping off the building have anything to do with me? To actually give me a warning punishment, will I be punished or not? When Bai Cixin, who was wearing a white cloth on her head, received Voidless Realm's result and a bottle of bejeweled jade immortal nectar, there was not a single ripple on her face. She twisted open the bottle cap and sprinkled the bejeweled jade immortal dew in front of her little brother's memorial tablet. Clearly, she was not satisfied with this punishment, and even more so, she was dissatisfied with Voidless Realm. The murderer was actually only given a warning. Meanwhile, Yihua also stopped his wife's punishment and sneered, "You are truly soft-hearted. The more benevolent you are, the more others will think that you are easy to bully." As a big power, Voidless Realm had to display their iron-blooded side. You have too much to learn. However, this kind of punishment was within Yihua's expectations. It isn't your fault to be kind, the fault is to be kind to bad people. At this moment, Absolute Heaven was in the middle of a lecture, and he was being assaulted by the gazes of the female fans. However, he still had to retain his identity as a university professor. On the way back to the dormitory, Yihua bought some food. After all, there were still two women upstairs. Originally, Yihua wanted to let the two women fend for themselves after the mission ended, but since his honor had already spoken, he decided to let the two women stay by his side and serve him. However, looking at the lunchbox that was in his hand, Absolute Heaven felt that it wasn't the two women who were serving him. Absolute Heaven still didn't understand what his honor meant. The serving that Yihua said was not the serving that Absolute Heaven was thinking of. As a boss, Yihua naturally had to share his happiness with his subordinates. However, Absolute Heaven, who was like a cat, didn't feel the slightest bit of happiness, and instead, he felt that his chest was stuffy. Opening the door of the dormitory, Yihua saw the two women wearing his shirt and sitting at the table eating instant noodles. A young lady wearing a man's shirt has a different flavor, especially when there is nothing inside the shirt. If it was Lai Gu who was here, there was no need to say anything, Lai Gu would definitely speak with his strength. However, Absolute Heaven shifted his gaze away after taking a glance at the two women. "I bought some rice for you too." Absolute Heaven placed the casserole rice on the table and said faintly. Guan Yinxin took a glance, then teased, "Professor Absolute Heaven, you made our little sister suffer so much that she wants to die, and you want to send her away just like that?" Dongfang Yuer's face immediately turned red. "How could that be? Professor, don't listen to her nonsense. Then do it again with Professor Zhu." "No." Dongfang Yuan rejected as expected. However, Absolute Heaven was unhappy. "I'm letting you enjoy yourself, yet you don't want it?" This was intolerable. "I'll directly carry Dongfang Yuan onto my thighs, then I'll fill up my brain." Guan Yinxin was stunned. This kind of life was perverted, especially when she saw you, in pain and happiness. It was even more exciting. Slowly standing up, Guan Yinxin actually gave Dongfang Yuan a wet kiss. This caused Dongfang Yuan to widen her beautiful eyes in disbelief. At the back was Zhu Tian, and at the front was Guan Yinxin. With Guan Yinxin's help, Dongfang Yuan soon fainted, and 10 minutes later, Guan Yinxin also fainted. However, Absolute Heaven did not feel anything. He only believed that he had completed his mission and obtained their loyalty. Of course, there was also a trace of refreshment, as if this trace of refreshment appeared in their normal and dizzy state. So, it turns out that even without using force, it is still possible to make a woman beg for forgiveness. What Lai Gu said is still correct. Zhu Tian wore his clothes and stood up, then said faintly, "After watching this action movie for so long, aren't you going to give it a 5-star review?" The corner of the bedroom gradually twisted, and 3 masked men actually appeared. When Zhu Tian entered the bedroom, he noticed that there were people that came in, and they were looking for him. Just that, I didn't expect that they would actually be able to watch the show for so long. Looking at their crotch, the tent isn't big. They might have been shocked by my strength, and they don't have the confidence to kill me anymore. Today, we are here to send you to hell. The man that was leading the group shouted out coldly and released quite a bit of spiritual energy. Zhu Tian said faintly, "You should be Yenxin's big brother, right? I took a look at you yesterday." The man paused for a moment, and the spiritual energy on his body became a bit chaotic. Soon after, he shouted out, "Go and die." Zhu Tian sneered, then immediately tore off the man's mask. Zhu Tian, who was in front of Guanli, did not move at all, but his mask was gone, and Guanli immediately covered his face with his hands. "What? You have the face to look at me, but don't have the face to admit it?" Zhu Tian said calmly. "Nonsense. Am I, Guanli, that kind of person?" Guanli's face and ears became red. Originally, he was here to kill this professor according to his father's wish. When he came over, he didn't discover that there was no one around, and on the contrary, he saw his little sister and another girl. However, when he saw his little sister who was wearing a shirt, and Guanli actually didn't show his face, Guanli felt very excited. Chapter 361. Especially when he saw his younger sister taking advantage of that girl, his breathing actually became hurried, and he almost revealed himself. It was too exciting. Absolute Heaven spread out his hands and said, "Actually, I don't mind you peeking." Guanli was shocked. "Actually, what I care about is that you entered my house without my permission. You didn't even take off your shoes." Absolute Heaven's gaze emitted a sinister chilliness. His pupils actually changed to that of a feline. Cats were very fond of cleanliness. The 3 men were shocked by the scene in front of them and took a step back reflexively. Suddenly, they felt something grab their feet. He lowered his head to look. Countless ghostly hands appeared on the floor as if they were trying to break free from the shackles. However, these ghostly hands grabbed their legs and dragged them down with all their might. Guanli's body seemed to have sunk into a swamp, gradually sinking. No matter how the 3 men struggled, it was useless. "Brother-in-law, let's talk this out." Guanli didn't think too much about it and hurriedly begged for mercy. This man's strength had been wrong. I'm listening." Guanli was speechless. "I'm not asking you to listen to me, I'm asking you to let me go. Brother-in-law, let me go. I won't peek next time." Guanli's eyes were filled with terror. Both of his feet had already sunk in, and even that disgusting ghostly hand was touching his chin. What was even more frightening was that he could still feel his feet. Someone was tearing his pants. He even took off all his clothes. Furthermore, Guanli screamed in pain, and so did the 2 men behind him. On the bed, Guan Yenxin pursed her lips, turned over and hugged Dongfang Yu. The scene was extremely alluring. Guanli endured the pain and shouted, "I'm Yen Xian's brother. If you kill me, she will hate you for the rest of her life. She won't know." Guanli was speechless. "I feel so powerless talking to this man, Yen Xian. Quick, save brother, this is a demon." Guanli shouted at Guan Yenxin. Sitting at the bedside, Absolute Heaven said indifferently, "You saw it for yourself just now. I beat them down. You. Don't worry, I will treat your sister well." Guanli stared at Absolute Heaven with a dumbfounded expression. "Are you sure you want to say such words at a time like this? Isn't it inappropriate? I curse you, woo." The 3 heads gradually disappeared, and the floor returned to normal. "Hey, Mr. Zhu, it's so noisy." "Who's shouting?" Guan Yenxin whined. "Unimportant person, since you're awake, let's begin." "Ah." No. From what Lai Gu said, when a woman said no, it meant that she wanted it. Absolute heaven once again became enraged, causing Guan Yanxin to lose the strength to even move her fingers. On the other hand, Dongfang Yuan was much smarter. Even though she was awake, she was still pretending to be unconscious. However, who was absolute heaven? Did he think that he would be fine just because he fainted? Dongfang Yuer's pleas for mercy rang out in the room. Could this be considered as just escaping from the wolf's mouth and entering the tiger's den? Of course, the former was resisting, while the latter was willing. Unlike Lai Gu's reaction was instinctive, and he also enjoyed it. Absolute heaven was not enjoying the process. Rather, he was enjoying the instant of pleasure. He had to admit that the 7 deadly sins all had their own unique tastes. In actuality, Yi Zizi's taste was a bit heavy as well, just that she didn't show it. At night, Absolute Heaven planned to pay a visit to his father-in-law and create an alibi. This brother of his still has some value. Although your wives are kind, it doesn't mean that they are stupid. Guan Yanxin was driving the Ferrari, while Absolute Heaven was carrying the frail Dongfang Yuan, and sitting on the front passenger seat. Dongfang Yuan was wearing a dress, and right now, her dress had already reached her waist. Guan Yanxin, who was driving, would tease Dongfang Yuan from time to time. I feel that I have already fallen in love with this kind of life. Just what kind of life did I live in the past? Thinking about it, it feels so dull and boring. Guan family was situated in the mountainous area outside of Zijin City. It was an old residence. Right now, the interior of the residence was brightly lit, and it seemed like something was being held. Guan Yanxin stopped the car and got off the car to take a look, then muttered, "Today is actually the gathering of the aristocratic families at the end of the month. Do the aristocratic families even gather for a gathering?" Absolute Heaven supported Dongfang Yuan, who was standing unsteadily, and asked curiously. Guan Yanxin nodded her head. This is a rule that has been passed down from generation to generation. Perhaps it is because the aristocratic families wish to interact more with each other and not become unfamiliar with each other. However, Voidless Realm might not have thought that not only did this kind of gathering not achieve the desired effect, the things that they did were also disgusting. Guan Yanxin added. The corner of Absolute Heaven's mouth curved up slightly. Information came again. There are some things that I can't ask too much about. It would only be reasonable for Guan Yanxin to say it herself. What disgusting things. Absolute Heaven pulled Guan Yanxin to his side and caressed her body with his palm. If not for the fact that she was wearing a dress, his palm would have already entered her body. Being caressed by Absolute Heaven, Guan Yanxin immediately felt weak. Fortunately, there were not many people at the place where the car was parked. However, she felt that it was very exciting. There are too many of them. I usually don't participate in this kind of gathering. Guan Yanxin only felt excited when she was with Absolute Heaven. It wasn't that she was a loose girl, she was relatively conservative. It was just that when she saw Absolute Heaven bullying Dongfang Yuan, she couldn't endure it anymore. Because Dongfang Yuan looked like she really wanted to go and bully her, and even Guan Yanxin, who was a woman, wanted to bully her. Hearing Dongfang Yuan's sweet begging sounds, Guan Yanxin felt so good that her soul would leave her body. Dongfang Yuan had such a great charm. Therefore, Absolute Heaven had picked up 2 treasures. If Lai Gu were to come across them, he would definitely be jealous of Absolute Heaven's luck. To be able to get 2 such unique women while doing a mission, his luck is too good. Especially Dongfang Yuan. In the end, even Yi Hua was envious of Absolute Heaven for being able to have such a woman. Not only Yi Hua, every single man from the 7 deadly sins was envious of Absolute Heaven's luck with women, and in the end, one of the 7 deadly sins wanted to protect Dongfang Yuan, and fought against Absolute Heaven. Meanwhile, Yi Hua sat at the side and watched the show while eating sunflower seeds. The feeling that Dongfang Yuan gave off was, everyone, quickly come over. There is a soft girl here, quickly come and bully her. Seriously, bullying Dongfang Yuan feels so good, especially when he heard Dongfang Yuan, soft begging sounds. Even absolute heaven felt good. One must know that absolute heaven had never felt good before. In the past, he didn't even have any fluctuation in his emotions, and right now, he actually felt good because of Dongfang Yuan. This is even more interesting than killing someone. Absolute heaven, why are you always bullying little sister you? Guan Yinxin walked at the side and supported onto Dongfang Yuan. This caused Dongfang Yuan to feel very grateful. My entire body is already completely devoid of strength, and I feel as if my entire body is about to float. Guan Yinxin added on, even if you want to bully her, you should at least call me along. Dongfang Yuan right after Dongfang Yuan finished speaking, Yihua gave the weak and gentle Dongfang Yuan a long kiss. Absolute heaven didn't mind at all and said faintly, alright, let's go in first, we will play again after we return home tonight. Play again? Chapter 362. Miss. 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 The guards at the door shouted respectfully. However, they felt that it was a little strange. Why was the young miss carrying a blushing and weak beauty in her arms? And looking at the young miss, she seemed to be very evil. The man next to her was full of righteousness and was a gentleman. Guan Yinxin supported Dongfang Yuan and nodded to the guards, then walked in. He didn't forget to take advantage of Dongfang Yuan. As the daughter of an aristocratic family, she naturally had some strength, but Dongfang Yuan didn't, and could only be manipulated by him. How pitiful. Zhu Tian, on the other hand, did not wish to meddle in their private matters. He looked around for a moment, preparing his plan. Now, he had a good idea. Dongfang Yuan was originally from the Dongfang family, and if she could obtain an ancient godly item, she would definitely be able to participate in the selection. However, I will also be suspected by your madam. Regarding this matter, I still need to discuss it with His Honor. I cannot act on my own accord. Yan Xian, don't bully you anymore. Zhu Tian glanced at Yan Xian, a hint of helplessness in his tone. He saw Guan Yinxin pressing Dongfang Yuan against the wall. She was currently enjoying Dongfang Yuan's cherry lips without the slightest bit of restraint. Who knows where her pair of delicate hands were touching? The pitiful Dongfang Yuan was passively enjoying all of this, and she felt as if her soul had gone astray. Hearing Zhu Tian's words, Guan Yinxin stopped her frivolous actions. However, when she saw Dongfang Yuan's delicate and pitiful appearance, she wanted to bully her again. Zhu Tian protected Dongfang Yuan in his embrace. Alright, stop bullying Yuan. You, Professor Zhu spoke up for you. Guan Yinxin said with a beaming smile. The latter buried her head deep into Zhu Tian's bosom. This isn't an ordinary tiger's den, I'm really worried that my body will be torn apart by them. Hugging Dongfang Yuan, Zhu Tian asked, Yuan, are you happy? Dongfang Yuan's face couldn't help but turn red, and she couldn't help but recall the matters of the past 2 days. She felt that it was too sudden, as if her life had changed in an instant. But was he happy? It seemed to be a little like being cared for like this. Professor Zhu, in that case, can I make a request? Dongfang Yuan said weakly. Just this tone alone was enough to show that he wanted to bully her. Zhu Tian nodded his head, go ahead. Dongfang Yuan said in a low voice, My body is weak, can I not do it every day? According to Lai Gu's experience, when a woman says this, it means that she is not satisfied. A satisfied woman would wish that you are like this every single day. No. Zhu Tian felt that Dongfang Yuan was the one who was dissatisfied with him. This is something that concerns the success rate of His Honor's mission, and I cannot be sloppy about this. It seems that I will have to take special care of Dongfang Yuan. Dongfang Yuan was in despair, however, this expression of despair gave Zhu Tianmeng the urge to bully her. This woman was just asking for it. I will help you wash away your family's injustice, and let you become the family head of the aristocratic family. That was what Zhu Tian planned. However, this wasn't the life that Dongfang Yue wanted. Zhu Tian, thank you for what you've done for me. However, I don't want to be some family head. Then, what do you want? Zhu Tian asked. A stable life. Dongfang Yue's wish was very ordinary. She wanted to study hard, find a stable job, find a man she liked, and live a simple life. However, she was sold off by her mother. However, she met Zhu Tian, and was destined to not be an ordinary person in this life. Zhu Tian said indifferently, you will have this kind of life. Dongfang Yue's heart trembled, then immediately after, her heart was filled with sweetness. In actuality, being bullied by Zhu Tian like this was something that she was willing to do. After all, Zhu Tian was her benefactor, the second person that was good to her, and this was enough for her. On the other hand, Zhu Tian's words of love that aren't easily spoken can be given full marks. If Zhu Tian had this kind of ability, wouldn't Xingye and Baiji become obedient rabbits? Unfortunately, Yihua wanted to save face. Using Yihua's words, I will not say those mushy words of love. If not for the fact that they deeply loved Yihua, Xingye and Baiji would definitely not be able to endure Yihua's temper. Very soon, the three arrived outside of the banquet hall. After the guards went to inform the guards, the three walked into the banquet hall. The banquet hall could be seen to be very grand. All of the utensils on the table were spirit artifacts, and even the red carpet on the floor was spirit artifacts. Therefore, the items that were sold in the auction that day were all things that Yi family did not want. However, for ordinary families, those items could be stored away like treasures. Guantong sat on the main seat. After all, this banquet was held by Guan family this month. Yi Xiao, Jiang Yuanzhou, Chu He, and an unfamiliar middle-aged woman. This woman's appearance was not beautiful, but strange. Because the left side of her face was not symmetrical with the right side of her face, if this kind of face were to appear at night, it would definitely scare people to death. This woman was the family head of Duan family. Her name was Duan Ho, and her name was just like her name. She did not have the ability to become pregnant, and thus, she did not have any children. Of course, this was because she was harmed by someone, which was why she changed her name to Duan Ho. Her temperament was also strange, and she liked to torture men, especially handsome men. From the looks of it, this Duan Ho is also a woman with a story. And when this Duan Ho saw Zhu Tian, interest appeared in her big and small eyes. Father! Guan Yanxin shouted out tenderly. She did not feel that she had lost face at all. Zhu Tian was her sky, a man that could make her feel as if she was in heaven. Zhu Tian was very formidable. He merely nodded his head towards Guan Tong. Most importantly, he was hugging another woman. Jiang family knew about the inside story, while the other three families only heard about what happened last night. Chu He laughed heartily. Congratulations to family head Guan for obtaining such a handsome son-in-law. There was obviously a belittling intention in his words. Handsome son-in-law, isn't that the same as saying that he is a gigolo? Isn't that a person from Bai family? Jiang Yuanzhou asked curiously. Guan Yanxin smiled and added, little sister Yu had escaped from Bai family's control and regained her freedom. She was fancied by her husband. For an aristocratic family, this was not a big deal, it was just taking in a concubine. Guan Tong appeared to be very angry, his chubby face was trembling, and his double chin looked extremely disgusting. The person behind Chu He was naturally Chu Bo, a man who couldn't find his big brother. And he was currently sizing up Dongfang Yue. During the auction that day, this girl was also present. Looking at her trembling appearance, he really wanted to bully her. It wasn't only Chu Bo who thought so, everyone thought so as well. That delicate appearance of hers could indeed cause others to feel pity for her, but that was only for ordinary people. To them, there was also a hint of bullying within the pity. It would definitely be very fun to bully such a girl. Indeed, even Zhu Tian felt secretly happy, especially when Dongfang Yue was begging for mercy in a low voice. That helpless expression, that expression of her biting her lips, the value was so great that it could explode the heavens. Guan Tong thought that his son had already succeeded, but in the end, not only did he not die, he even came here. If it wasn't for the fact that there were so many people here, he would have directly killed him. Chapter 363. Because the family head did not let his daughter sit behind him. Guan Yinxin, on the other hand, didn't mind. She was already tired of this kind of life. Her life with Zhu Tian was filled with excitement and temptation, and she liked it even more when Zhu Tian conquered her. Sitting at the back, Zhu Tian and Guan Yinxin did not continue to bully Dongfang Yuan. After all, there were many people around. Guan Yinxin showed her concern. She knew that Dongfang Yuan was very weak, and she probably didn't even have the strength to raise her hand right now. Guan Yinxin personally peeled fruits for Dongfang Yuan to eat to replenish her strength. Dongfang Yuan was very grateful. She had been bullied by Zhu Tian 4 to 5 times today, and she had no energy left. What is my big brother secretly talking about? Guan Yinxin saw her big brother, Guan Li, walking towards her father and whispering, causing her father's face to darken. Zhu Tian silently drank a mouthful of tea. This alibi should work. Next, it will depend on Bai family's reaction. Whether or not something happens tonight will depend on how much Bai Cixin dotes on her little brother. Right now, a funeral was being held in Bai family's castle, and various family heads sent their sincere condolences. Among them, there was even a youngster who was looking around. This youngster was Dou Fusher, who had not appeared for a long time. Zhu Tian needed an unfamiliar face to go to Bai family to say a few words. However, in the group, the madams seemed to have never seen Dou Fusher before. Today, Dou Fusher received the black-gowned big brother's order, and immediately went to Zijin City. According to the order, he killed the Tang family's little brother who came to mourn, and then came himself. The current Dou Fusher was no longer the youngster who only knew how to catch ghosts. Even big shots had to submit to him, let alone a small family. This kind of mission was not difficult at all, and the black-gowned big brother even told him to be careful. A guest has arrived. Dou Fusher opened the flower wreath in his hand and shouted out gravely, Northern Tang family has sent their blessings, Pa. They have sent their condolences. Bai Cixin, who was wearing a white muslin dress, slowly raised her head and looked at Dou Fusher with killing intent in her beautiful eyes. Wang Debao also stared at Dou Fusher. This Tang family came to send their condolences. It was obviously a deep irony. Dou Fusher swallowed his saliva. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of anything. I'll just follow my lines. Cough. Patriarch Bai, you don't have to be sad. Patriarch Bai said that it's a good thing to have one less tumor in society, lest more tragedies happen in the future. Clan head also said that he is very sorry for Bai Chi's death. He hopes that clan head Bai can restrain his grief and give birth to a son soon. He hopes that your child will not become like this and jump off a building to commit suicide. After saying that, Dou Fusher heaved a sigh of relief. Today's mission could be considered completed. However, this woman was crying as she looked at him. Could it be that she had been moved by his charm? Sai, the head of the Bai family, was too frivolous. But if he really wanted to flirt with me, I would just symbolically resist for a while and then accept my fate. A cold and gloomy wind suddenly blew in the morning hall. Dou Fusher looked at the black tower in Bai Cixin's hand. However, a ball of ferocious black fog attacked him, and then his consciousness blurred. Didn't you say there was no threat? How could this be? I was fooled by Big Brother Black Robe. No wonder sister-in-law told him to be careful before he left. It seemed that sister-in-law still loved me and knew that things were dangerous. Bai Cixin openly used an ancient godly item to kill someone in her little brother's mourning hall, causing everyone in the surroundings to be stupefied. I feel that something big is going to happen tonight. Bai Cixin slowly stood up and shouted out gravely, Tang family is going too far. My Bai family and Tang family are irreconcilable enemies. Ordinary families wouldn't dare to get involved in a fight like this, as they were afraid of getting implicated. After all, Bai Cixin was currently disregarding Voidless Realm's order. Wang Debao was not a coward, and thus, he naturally supported his wife. Xiao Yi. Do you dare to follow me to Tang family? Xiao Yi, who was sitting at the side, pondered. If Tang Wushuang were to become the head of a family, his days would definitely not be good. I am going to exterminate Tang family tonight. Bai Cixin will also receive Voidless Realm's punishment, and I won't be able to escape as well. However, at the very least, my crime will be lighter, and I will be able to get rid of any future threats. This is a pretty good choice. Furthermore, with 2 ancient godly items, why would I be afraid of a small Tang family? Let's go. Xiao Yi chose to exterminate Tang family to get rid of any future troubles. Bai Cixin said to the family heads present, after tonight, you all can say whatever you want. However, if someone were to go and drink water tonight, that person would be making an enemy out of my Bai family. Since Bai Cixin had already said it to this point, everyone naturally wouldn't go and tell on Bai Cixin. After all, this was human nature. This Tang family is too excessive, they actually sent people over to mock us. Bai Cixin brought along Bai family's people and charged towards Tang family. Of course, there was also Wang Debao and Xiao Yi. A huge battle tonight is unavoidable. The people in the morning hall gradually dispersed, and only Dou Fusher's gloomy expression was left behind. Death Mage suddenly appeared and brought Dou Fusher away. Soon after, Death Mage transferred a bit of healing black mist to Dou Fusher. Dou Fusher immediately woke up. Whoa, you scared me to death, big brother, and you still dare to say that there is no danger? GGG, Imperial Translation. Of course there is no danger, aren't you fine? Dou Fusher's heart was filled with despair. After experiencing the thrill of death, this feeling is simply too terrifying. Sun Fang came over with a bowl of porridge. Drink some porridge, today's mission was done very well. Dou Fusher happily received the bowl of porridge. Thank you, sister-in-law. Eldest sister-in-law treats me the best. It seems that she can't forget me, but it's not convenient for her to express it. At this moment, in Tang family's manor, Tang Wushuang was actually sitting in front of the dressing table, and his 2 wives were currently helping him put on makeup. Her expression did not change. Although she was disappointed, it was better than seeing her husband collapse. Am I beautiful? Tang Wushuang's voice had completely changed, and his face had also changed. Everything had changed. Quan Anrong looked at her husband in the mirror and took a deep breath. Her husband's appearance was getting better day by day, and he was about to lose to her. Furthermore, there was even a hint of flirtatiousness between her brows. Beautiful. Quan Anrong didn't dare to imagine what would happen next. It was the same for Mu Jia. Her husband had become neither human nor ghost, and she still had to keep smiling. Tang Wushuang stretched out his long and thin finger and stroked his own beautiful face. He was incomparably happy. So this is how it feels to become a woman. It seemed like his mentality had changed. Suddenly, Bai Cixin's delicate shout resounded from outside the house. Tang Wushuang. Get out here and pay for my brother's death. Tang Wushuang's brows wrinkled, then snorted, ignorant woman. Wushuang. His 2 wives called out worriedly. Tang Wushuang said, you 2 stay at home and wait for me to kill that bitch. Be careful. Tang Wushuang's current strength was much higher than before. If Tang Wushuang was a Santana in the past, then he was currently a Portia. Looking at Bai Cixin, Xiao Yi, Wang Debao, and the others who were in front of him, Tang Wushuang shouted out, what are you looking for me for? Chapter 364. I'm Tang Wushuang. When he said that, half of the Bai family was stunned. Looking at the beautiful woman in front of him, she is Tang Wushuang? Even if he had run away from the Koreans once, there was no way he would end up like this. Xiao Yi walked forward and shouted, stop acting mysterious, call Tang Wushuang out. I am Tang Wushuang. Tang Wuxuang was also very angry. No one actually believed in him. In that case, he could only take out the ancient divine weapon-piercing tomb. After obtaining Voidless Realm's confirmation, Voidless Realm returned the Ling Qi back to Tang Wuxuang. Everyone looked at the ancient godly item in Tang Wuxuang's hands and rubbed their eyes. Is this really Tang Wuxuang? After all, an ancient godly item would only appear in the hands of the patriarch. Who would give it to someone else? Are you really Tang Wuxuang? Wang Debao found it hard to believe. This kind of woman is actually on the same level as my wife. My God. Also, how did Tang Wuxuang's chest muscles become so big? Tang Wuxuang's beautiful face sank, and in an instant, he emitted out a world-shaking spiritual energy, causing everyone from the Bai clan to be dumbstruck. If this person wasn't Tang Wuxuang, then who could it be? Bai Cixin's killing intent was firm. No matter whether you're Tang Wuxuang or not, I'm going to bathe this Tang clan in blood today. Bai Cixin, are you out of your mind? Voidless Realm had instructed us again and again. So what? You sent people over to humiliate me, so I'll definitely return it to you today. The 9 demons punishing tower had already appeared in Bai Cixin's hand. Wang Debao took out a set of shiny golden armor from the system, while Xiao Yi took out the Xianyuan sword. Tang Wuxuang recalled the people he had sent out and said in a deep voice, "Where are my people? Kill him. You dare to kill my brother-in-law." Tang Wuxuang immediately emitted out a sharp killing intent. I'm not only going to kill your brother-in-law, I'm going to kill your entire family. Bai clan, listen up, slaughter the Tang clan. In order to avenge her brother, Bai Cixin was willing to pay any price. It could be seen how much she valued her brother. Tang Wuxuang didn't expect that things would turn out like this. Today, he indeed had the intention of flirting with her by asking people to go and mourn her. However, he didn't expect that there would be such a result. However, Tang Wuxuang wasn't scared, and he shouted, "Tang clan's people, listen up. Kill." In an instant, both parties started fighting against each other, and right now, Tang Wuxuang was actually able to fight against 3 people by himself. It could be seen that this cultivation technique was indeed powerful. In the villa, Gue Qingren stood by the window and looked at the situation outside, and his phone suddenly rang. Aya, it's updated. He immediately started reading. When Absolute Heaven, who was currently attending the banquet, received the report, the corner of his lips curled up slightly. He was in a very good mood. Sure enough, he had guessed correctly. Bai Cixin loved her younger brother very much. In order to avenge her younger brother, she even gave up her position as a member of an aristocratic family. For a woman who loved power, this choice was truly admirable. However, to Absolute Heaven, this was just a quest. If she could fall for it, she would naturally be happy. If she couldn't, it didn't matter. He naturally had other methods. Right now, I only need an opportunity, and everything will be so natural. The slightly happy Absolute Heaven hugged Dongfang Yu'er in his arms and started to take liberties with her again. Ju Tian, don't let's go home first. Dongfang Yuan Air said pitifully. That tender and pitiful look of hers made one's heart ache, but at the same time, it also made one unable to help but to want to continue bullying Ju Tian. Absolute Heaven nodded his head and said in a low voice, "Next time, don't wear such a long skirt." Guan Yinxin said sweetly, "Then I won't even wear underwear." Sure. Absolute Heaven said with a deadpan expression, as if he was discussing a very deep problem. At the banquet, Duan Ho raised her head and drank a cup of wine, then asked, "Yi Shao, I heard that your son and Sage Doctor disappeared together. My son might have gone somewhere to handle some matters with Sage Doctor." Yi Shao squeezed out a smile and said, "This is not what Chu family's young master said. This matter has to be investigated properly. The crime of murdering the son of an aristocratic family is not small." Duan Ho's words had the intention of sowing dissension, but that was the truth. Absolute Heaven, who was sitting below the banquet, caressed Dongfang Yu'er lightly and listened to their conversation. "Chu," he said gravely, "my son definitely wouldn't do such a thing. Duan Ho, you better pay attention to your words. Duan Ho said faintly. However, I heard that after the banquet ended, young Master Chu brought along 2 ladies and left. Those 2 ladies were very eye-catching on that day. Yi Xiao and Chu He's gaze sunk. Because, in Chu Bai's confession, those 2 ladies did not appear. Chu Bai. Is what Duan Ho said true or not? Chu He questioned angrily. Chu Bai felt uneasy in his heart. He didn't know if anyone saw the Qing sisters get on the carriage that day. Could it be that someone saw it? If someone really saw it, wouldn't it be troublesome? After all, they would go and find trouble with the Qing sisters. Chu Bai. I'm asking you a question. Chu He shouted once again. Yes. All the patriarchs present gasped. Because this was related to the level of snatching women. Yi Tai and Sage Doctor might have met with misfortune, and this Chu Bai was the first to complain, taking the initiative. Anyway, dead men tell no tales. However, Chu Bai still didn't know that the 2 of them were already dead. However, I didn't kill them. They were the ones who forcefully snatched women. I was injured in order to save them. Fortunately, they lent a helping hand and I managed to keep my life. However, we really didn't kill them at that time. Chu Bai's words were not convincing at all. It was full of loopholes. How could the 2 women be a match for Yi Tai and Sage Doctor? They didn't even know how to lie. Yi Xiao said to Chu He, Old Chu. Chu He said in a deep voice, who knows, maybe those 2 women framed my son. Isn't that right, Chu Bai? Chu Bai knew that his father was helping him, but he really couldn't afford to offend them. No, they are very strong, but they are good people. Chu Bai hurriedly explained, telling everyone not to offend them. Yi Xiao said gravely, seems like we have to go and invite them to be our guests. Unfilial son. Take him down. Chu He shouted out angrily. My son definitely didn't kill anyone, and I reckon that someone framed him. Could it be this Empress Duan? She was the one who instigated this matter. Dong. 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 Suddenly, the bell rang throughout the entire Guan family. Guan Tong suddenly stood up. Guards. What happened? An imperial guard hurriedly ran over and said in panic, Family head. An assassin came. Eldest young master, he. What happened to Guan Li? Guan Tong's small eyes suddenly opened wide. Eldest young master was assassinated. The entire banquet immediately became silent. The son of an aristocratic family was assassinated in his own home. This was a slap to the face. This was a humiliation to the Guan family. Where's the assassin? Guan Tong shouted. The assassin is still escaping. Right after Guan Tong finished speaking, a black figure quickly passed through the sky. Without even thinking, Guan Tong chased after the black figure. The other 4 family heads paused for a moment, then chased after the black figure as well. Chapter 365. Yen Xian, let's go catch the culprit, Zhu Tian said indifferently. He then brought the 2 women with him as he gave chase. After all, if it was too far away, it would be difficult to control it. Some corpses were still quite useful. A black figure was seen running away at high speed, followed by the clan masters of the 5 great clans. Such a situation was unprecedented. Behind them, Zhu Tian carried the 2 women in his arms as he leisurely followed behind them. The matters that happened tonight will cause your wife to be vexed once again. If your wife is willing to listen to his honor's words, I wouldn't have to do all these things. At this time, the Tang family manor was flowing with blood. It was too horrible to look at. The ground was littered with the corpses of people from both sides, and broken limbs. At this moment, Tang Wushuang was also heavily injured, and blood was flowing down from his arm. Bai Cixin, Wang Debao, and Xiao Yi all had different kinds of injuries on their bodies, but they were just minor injuries, so they were nothing to be afraid of. It seemed like even with the 3 of them joining hands, Tang Wushuang was still unable to handle them. Wushuang. And Rong isn't going to make it. A few pretty wives ran out of the villa. Quan Anrong's face was pale. There were no wounds on his body, but he was twitching as if he had been cursed. This was the vengeful spirit of the 9 demons' punishment pagoda. Quan Anrong did not expect it to be entangled with him. Tang Wushuang's expression changed greatly as he ran to the front of his beloved wife. The ancient godly item that was in his hand fell onto the ground, and he hugged onto Quan Anrong. And the ancient godly item that fell on the ground suddenly disappeared. Gui Qingren kept the ancient godly item, shook his head, and prepared to leave. And Rong! Tang Wushuang shouted out. Quan Anrong's delicate body was entangled by the vengeful spirits. Her expression was one of agony, and it looked like she was about to die. Tang Wushuang's expression was flustered, and he hurriedly shouted towards Bai Cixin, who was in the sky. Bai Cixin, if you have any grudges, come at me. So what if you killed my woman? Tang Wushuang. What about you? So what if you killed my brother? Bai Cixin had no intention of letting go. You killed my younger brother, so I'll kill your woman. I'll let you experience the pain of losing a family member. Xiao Yi, who was at the side, looked at Tang Wushuang, who was far away. That helpless look of his is extremely similar to me back then. What was the difference between his actions and black robes? But for the family, they had no choice but to do so. Irony, a huge irony. When Tang Wushuang saw that his beloved wife was getting weaker and weaker, he actually turned around and knelt down to Bai Cixin. Bai Cixin. You can take my life, but let my woman go. Dream on. I want you to watch her die. You. Mu Jie shouted out, Wushuang, and Rong, she. Tang Wushuang turned his head around to take a look, and his beloved wife had already left, and that pair of beautiful eyes of hers was currently looking at him. There was a look of reluctance on his face, and he even stretched out his hand, as if he didn't want her to give in. And Rong. And Rong, Tang Wushuang rolled and crawled on the ground as he hugged onto his beloved wife. Smelling that familiar scent, Tang Wushuang let out a painful howl. That mournful howl caused Xiao Yi's expression to turn gloomy, and he couldn't help but recall that day when Sini died in his embrace. Bai Cixin. I want your life. All of a sudden, Tang Wushuang burst out a terrifying evil aura. Black lines appeared on her pretty face, making her look sinister and terrifying. Sharp teeth actually grew out of her skin, making people's hair stand on end. The spiritual pressure emanating from his body was even stronger than before. Bai Cixin and the others' expressions darkened. What kind of monster is this? However, a black shadow suddenly appeared in the middle of the two sides and stopped. The clan heads of the 5 great clans immediately appeared at the scene. Looking at the scene in front of them, their brows furrowed. The Tang and Bai clans were actually having a bloodbath. The casualties are so tragic. When Bai Cixin and Xiao Yi saw the 5 family heads who rushed over, they were a bit surprised. Didn't they come over too quickly? When Tang Wushuang saw the 5 family heads rushing over, the sinister expression on his face gradually faded away, and he returned back to his delicate appearance. Tang Wushuang immediately kneeled on the ground and begged, family heads. This Bai Cixin is vicious, he killed my beloved wife and exterminated my Tang family. Family heads, please uphold justice for me. Bai Cixin hurriedly explained, family heads. This Tang Wushuang sent people to cause trouble at my little brother's mourning hall and humiliated my Bai family. But didn't my brother-in-law still get killed by you? Tang Wushuang shouted out. I also want to kill your whole family. The 2 family heads each held onto a statement, and Yi Shao shouted out, everyone, be quiet. Only at this moment did everyone see that the black-robed man in the middle seemed to be very weak. Guan Tong questioned coldly, who sent you to kill my son? Tang and Bai family were startled. This black-robed man killed the son of an aristocratic family? Isn't this a bit too awesome? The black-robed man seemed to know that he wouldn't be able to escape, and he took a deep look at the 4 family heads who were standing together. This gaze seemed to be telling Guan Tong that the murderer was one of the 4 family heads. Meanwhile, the expressions of the four family heads changed. This is framing. The black-robed man suddenly slapped himself. Don't. Guan Tong wasn't in a hurry to stop the black-robed man, and he could only watch as the black-robed man turned into blood mist and fell onto the ground. Guan Tong slowly turned his head around and looked towards the other four family heads. Who was it? Who was the one who called him here? Jiang Yuanzhou said gravely, "Family head Guan, please calm down." Jiang Yuanzhou, was it you? Yesterday, I made you lose face, and today, you killed my son. How could Jiang Yuanzhou be able to stand being framed like this? He shouted out, "Guan Tong. Without any evidence, don't slander me. All of you are suspects. I will report this matter to Voidless Realm and have Voidless Realm give my Guan family justice." After finished speaking, Guan Tong left. The other four family heads looked at Tang family and Bai family, and Chu He said gravely, "You all can just wait for Voidless Realm's punishment." The four family heads hurriedly left. Bai Cixin clenched her teeth and shouted out, "Retreat!" Bai family head. Xiao Yi shouted out. "This Tang Wushuang is letting him go just like that?" Family head Xiao, "The aristocratic families have already interfered. If you continue to kill him, it will be a crime punishable by extermination of your family." After finished speaking, Bai Cixin left with Wang Debao. There is a difference between fighting secretly and fighting without listening to others' advice. You are still afraid of the former, and you are completely not giving face to the latter. Xiao Yi looked at Tang Wushuang, who was carrying his wife, then let out a light sigh, then turned around and left. Today, I didn't manage to kill him, and instead, I still have to wait for Voidless Realm's punishment. I am truly unlucky. With unwillingness, Xiao Yi left Tang family. Meanwhile, Tang Wushuang, who was carrying his wife's corpse, walked into the house. This hatred is getting bigger and bigger. On the other side, Zhu Tian was carrying Dongfang Yuer and Guan Yanxin, who had already fainted. Looking at the faint light emitted from the forest, Zhu Tian carried the two women and walked towards the light source. Gue Qingren, who was reading a novel, suddenly stopped his footsteps, then turned off his phone and asked, "Your Excellency, what's the matter?" Zhu Tian placed the two women down, then rubbed onto his eyes and said faintly, "Lend me that dagger." Gue Qingren turned around and looked towards Zhu Tian. "Why?" "Because it isn't yours." Zhu Tian looked at Gue Qingren coldly. He didn't like this person at all. Gue Qingren chuckled, "I have seen arrogant people before, but I have rarely seen someone as arrogant as you. Seems like my arrogance didn't disappoint you. Do you want me to fight with you?" Zhu Tian asked curiously. Chapter 366. After setting up a barrier to protect the two women, Zhu Tian rubbed his eyes and said faintly, "If I move a single step today, it will be my loss." Arrogant. Too arrogant. Too arrogant. Gue Qingren had never seen such a pretentious man before, to actually dare to say such words. Unbearable. All right. If I am unable to kill you today, you can take my life. All right. A breeze blew past, and a few fallen leaves slowly fell to the ground. The sound of the leaves swaying against each other could be heard. This made Zhu Tian recall some things. Hurry up and finish this, then go back and make them submit to me. Gue Qingren took out Ci Ling. Although Ci Ling is only a dagger, its might cannot be underestimated. Back then, Tang Wushuang even used it to pierce through Xiao Yi's armor. It is not an exaggeration to say that it can cut through iron like mud. And Gue Qingren's understanding of Ci Ling seems to be even more thorough. Spiritual cut. Following Gue Qingren's shout, the spiritual energy on his body gradually spread out and actually rushed towards Ci Ling. Ci Ling greedily absorbed the spiritual energy like a 3-year-old child, and the blade of the dagger became brighter and brighter. Spiritual test. Gue Qingren raised Ci Ling with both hands. A layer of black clouds suddenly condensed in the sky. Boom! Boom! Thunder suddenly sounded out, and one after another, lightning struck down. Ci Ling was like a lightning rod as he absorbed the power of the lightning. Spiritual cut. An even more powerful spiritual energy gushed out from Gue Qingren's body, and gradually, the spiritual energy actually turned into a small white ball. Gue Qingren bit his finger, and a drop of blood slowly floated into the small white ball of spiritual energy. In an instant, the small white ball of spiritual energy turned red, and soon after, the small white ball of spiritual energy merged with Ci Ling. Right now, Ci Ling was alternating between white and red, emitting a wild might that sounded like the roar of 10,000 beasts. In front of Zhu Tian's eyes, it was as if the end of the world had arrived. Right now, Ci Ling was no longer a small dagger, rather, it was an existence that was even more ferocious than an ancient godly item. This Ci Ling had already surpassed the level of an ancient godly item, which made Zhu Tian a bit curious. And after Gue Qingren finished using the buff, he became a lot weaker. After many years of comprehension, I have finally come up with this move. What bullshit, voidless realm, this move of mine will be able to take the Empress's head. After many years of comprehension and application, this was what Gue Qingren had learned from reading novels. Initially, he was just trying it out of curiosity, but he didn't expect to succeed. Reading novels was really a good thing. Absolute Heaven nodded his head. This person was indeed very powerful, especially that move of his. Speak. Just what are you here for? I'll leave you an intact corpse. Gue Qingren questioned. Zhu Tian calmly replied, I just wanted to use your dagger. Use for what? Gue Qingren asked curiously. My handmaiden is a member of the Dongfang family. As her master, I naturally have to help her clear her grievances. Humph. What a big tone. Washing away the injustice of the Dongfang family, then I want to see if you have the ability to do so. Gue Qingren's eyes focused, and the spiritual energy on his body rose once again. It frantically engulfed the scene and caused a rumbling sound. As for Gue Qingren, he turned into a black afterimage and attacked toward Zhu Tian with deathly aura. His speed was so fast that it made people exclaim in admiration. Unfortunately, he had encountered Absolute Heaven. One of the 7 deadly sins, bearing the mind. The right-hand man of the Supreme Honorable. Absolute Heaven slowly raised his hand and extended his index finger. Shwa. His index finger revealed a cat's claw, which glowed silver under the moonlight. Ding. The cat's claw and Ci Ling clashed together, and a muffled sound rang out. The sound was especially ear-piercing, and this sound actually turned into a sharp blade that engulfed the surroundings. All of the trees were chopped down, and a rumbling sound could be heard. Clearly, this is a dagger that can't even be considered as a nail clipper. Zhu Tian looked at Gue Qingren, who was absent-minded, and said faintly. Gue Qingren blankly looked at the man in front of him. This is impossible. That attack from Ci Ling just now had the might of an ancient godly item. How is it possible for him to block it with his fingernail? This is impossible, even the main character in the novel would not be so abnormal. Why is he able to block it with his fingernail? Ci Ling fell onto the ground powerlessly. Zhu Tian stretched out his palm, and Ci Ling slowly fell onto his palm. Gue Qingren collapsed onto the ground and asked absent-mindedly, Are you really able to wash away the injustice of the Dongfang family? I never lie. Zhu Tian said with his hands behind his back. His voice was even a bit lower, and he was imitating his honor again. Gue Qingren seemed to be at ease and said faintly, Come. End my life. All right. He swung the dagger in his hand and pierced through Gue Qingren's heart before returning to his hand. Gue Qingren blankly looked at his chest that was bleeding, and then looked at Zhu Tian. Why is this man not following the routine? Shouldn't he be curious? Shouldn't he ask first? Was he not surprised by her expression at all? Why did he kill himself without even thinking about it? Do you have anything else to say? Gue Qingren, fuck, I'm about to die, and you're only asking. Can't you be a little more attentive? Actually, I am also a member of the Dongfang family. Back then, I was the bodyguard beside the patriarch. When the patriarch knew that something big was going to happen, he ordered me to bring the real ancient godly item away and find an opportunity to take revenge. I originally thought that the Tang family would be able to squeeze into the aristocratic family, but I didn't expect that Bai Qi's death would make Bai Cixin so crazy. Once this matter comes out, the Tang family will definitely have no hope. Gue Qingren clutched onto his chest and said solemnly. Hearing that, Absolute Heaven said, "Oh. Oh. You're just saying oh? Shouldn't you be moved by my actions?" Then, they would heal me as soon as possible and join hands to deal with the 5 great clans? Can't you follow the plot of the novel? I am about to die. Absolute Heaven wasn't interested in this kind of matter. It's fine as long as I get the dagger. He turned around and helped the 2 girls up. Gue Qingren was greatly alarmed. What does this mean? Hey, are you not planning to save me? Gue Qingren found it hard to believe. When the plot reaches this point in the novel, they would always save people. After all, they are all doing it for the same goal, they are all on the same side. Absolute Heaven said faintly, "Why? I am also a member of the Dongfang family. What does it have to do with me?" Absolute Heaven asked curiously. PFFF, Gue Qingren vomited a mouthful of blood and almost fainted. If she were to know that you killed a loyal guard of the Dongfang family, she will hate you for life. You can be at ease, she will not know. Absolute Heaven silently thought of Guan Yinxin's brother, and he seemed to have said the same thing. Gue Qingren vomited another mouthful of blood. This Motherf * Kerr is not a human. If he appeared in a novel, he would definitely be a big villain. Furthermore, he would be a big villain that the protagonist would not be able to defeat. Gue Qingren breathed heavily and wanted to take out his phone, but he didn't have the strength to do so. Can you do me a favor and help me take out my phone? I want to see if the novel has been updated or not. Absolute Heaven felt that this person was a bit interesting and said faintly, not helping. Gue Qingren struggled to take out his phone, opened the last chapter of the novel, and flipped to the last chapter. Chapter 367. Seeing such a line of words, Gue Qingren's scalp went numb, his eyes widened, and he couldn't help but shout, "CNN scum, I'm about to die and you still want to break the chapter. Even if I become a ghost, I won't let you go. Trash author, Motherf * Kerr." Along with the roar, Gue Qingren's face became even paler. The blood in his chest seemed to have found an exit and flowed out desperately. Gue Qingren edited a message and sent it out. Then, he crushed his phone and looked at the dark sky. "In my next life, I want to be an author and take liberties with you." It was somewhere. A young man took out his phone, glanced at it calmly, and then deleted it. He took a deep breath and pushed open the door in front of him. The layout of the room was very simple. There were bookshelves around the wall, and a faint fragrance of paper filled the room. A man dressed in gorgeous clothes stood by the window, holding a book in his right hand. The soft moonlight shone on his body, making him look particularly mysterious. Mission failed. The man continued to read the book after listening. He stretched out his slender fingers and gently flipped through it. The subtle sound of flipping echoed in the room. It was obviously very ordinary, but in this environment, it made people's mood unstable, as if there was a big stone pressing on their chest, making them unable to breathe. The man didn't leave. He bowed and waited for the order. The man dressed in gorgeous clothes continued to read the book, and the sound of flipping could be heard from time to time in the room. No one knew how long had passed. Pa. The man closed the book and slowly turned around. He frowned slightly and asked, "Wulyo, when did you come?" 2 hours ago. Wulyo said lightly. The man nodded and asked in confusion, "Why didn't you call me?" Wulyo doesn't dare. "Sigh, you guys are so timid." The man seemed very helpless. Wulyo complained in his heart. "We have to be timid in front of you, otherwise, how can we set off your bravery?" The man sat in front of the desk, turned on the computer, logged into the QQ game, and was actually playing Link Link. "What's the matter so late?" the man asked with his chin propped up. Gui Qingren failed. "I already said that your plan won't work. These three giants are not under our control, so don't interfere with their affairs," the man said lightly. Wulio lowered his head and said fearfully, "Wulio is wrong. All right, it's not bad to teach you a lesson. Our mission is to monitor those reincarnated and transmigrators. In recent years, the space has been unstable, and reincarnated and transmigrators have come to our territory in droves, increasing the difficulty of our work." Thinking of this, the man seemed to be a little impatient. *CK, the workload has increased, but the salary has not increased, and they even proposed all kinds of regulations. This kind of enterprise will go bankrupt sooner or later. Boss, recently, the people below have been complaining that the people who have been reborn and transmigrated are quite strong. Some unlucky ones who have not recovered their strength are easy for us to catch, but some lucky ones are very difficult to catch. Moreover, the compensation for work-related injuries is not high. Everyone's mood is a little unstable. I've already reported this matter to the headquarters, but they haven't replied yet, the man said while looking at the computer screen. Boss, then shouldn't we? Wulu probed. The man waved his hand. Let's pick some unlucky ones first. Keep an eye on the powerful ones and catch them all in one fell swoop. Yes. How is the situation in Longban City? The man asked curiously. Wulu revealed out a confident smile. Boss, don't worry. Last time, those people accidentally angered the child, so I arranged for them to retreat overnight. Soon after, I arranged for some other people to retreat, and they were easily deceived. The man nodded his head and said, 5 years ago, this man transmigrated over with 2 people, yet he has been staying at home all this time. Furthermore, he even managed to get together with Voidless Realm's Empress. This dog shit luck sure is good. There is also Chinya. This kind of luck with women is truly amazing. Wulu said gravely, Boss, although this boss has been staying at home all this time, I feel that he is related to a lot of things. The man let out a breath, then said faintly, then, let's increase his danger level by 1. The man could be seen opening up Word and searching for A-rank personnel. Yihua's name was within it. Copy. Then, paste his name into the S rank. And within the S rank, there were a few familiar faces. For example, Xiao Yi, Chen Xuanzong, and the others. And within the folder, there was also a danger level of SS. There was even an even higher danger level of SSS. For trash like Wei Chang and Lai Gu, their danger level was E rank. Zhu Tian's danger level was actually F rank. Yi Zizi's danger level was a bit higher, reaching B rank. Long Outyan's danger level was even in the last place. His danger level was G rank. Tell our brothers to rest up for the time being. After the headquarters distribute the equipment and funds, we will capture them one by one. The man yawned and looked at the time. It is already 3 p.m., it is time to sleep. Yes. You can leave now. Right, there has been no news of Nangong Sini, who was arranged to stay by Xiao Yi's side for a long time. Go and check what is going on. Yes. Chen Xuanzong's side has to be arranged as well. Yes. This group of people belonged to the government, and this place was also a branch office. Time and space branch office. As long as someone reincarnated or transmigrated, they would send people to capture them. Most of the people that transmigrated were very weak, and their strength had not recovered to their peak. The work was still rather easy. However, there were some people who were lucky, such as Xiao Yi and Chen Xuanzong, who were considered to have reincarnated with strength. Therefore, these people only needed to be monitored, and when the time is right, they would be captured, crippled of their strength, and sent back. However, Yihua never expected that his danger level was only A rank, and it was only now that his danger level was raised to S rank. I am a homicidal maniac, can't you all be a bit more attentive? If I want to evaluate my danger level, I am definitely number 1. If you don't agree, then argue. No. If you don't agree, then fight. Zhu Tian sent the 2 women back to the staff dormitory, then went to report today's news. Yi Hua was originally sleeping, but after knowing that Zhu Tian came to report today's news, he immediately lost his sleepiness. Because Yi Hua wanted to teach them a lesson, then wait for them to come back with an apologetic gaze. Zhu Tian reported everything that happened tonight, and he even told Yi Hua some of his thoughts. Good. Very good. After Yi Hua heard what Zhu Tian said, he was extremely satisfied. Not only did I mess up the aristocratic family's election, I even caused the relationship between the aristocratic families to become even more tense. Zhu Tian, go ahead and do what you want. At most, they would only be guessing, but they do not have any evidence to prove that you are one of my people. Yi Hua was very excited. If this goes on, it won't be long before they surrender and return to Yi Hua. I still have my trump card, and the longevity fruit will definitely be able to make everyone go crazy. Although Yi Hua was furious, he didn't want to expose everything at once. After all, this was a rare opportunity to teach them a lesson. Chapter 368. Very good, I feel much more at ease now that you are in charge. Zhu Tian was terrified. Your honor's words are too serious. Doing things for your honor is the way of the heavens, subordinate doesn't dare to be greedy. Yi Hua patted onto Zhu Tian's shoulder, all right, go back and properly comfort that woman. This subordinate understands. Yi Hua waved his hand, and Zhu Tian disappeared from the office. I can have a good sleep tonight. I'll see how they decide tomorrow. It was not so easy to be a good person. A good person had to go through 81 tribulations to become a Buddha. As for the bad guys, they only needed to lay down the butcher's knife and become a Buddha. Early morning in Voidless Realm, celestial mist lingered around. The environment was elegant, and it could be said to be a fairyland. Dong Wang Baiji, who was in her bedroom, pursed her lips and turned her body. Her jade-like arms seemed like she wanted to hug someone, but in the end, she hugged nothing but air. Slowly opening her beautiful eyes, Yi Hua discovered that she was sleeping on the familiar imperial bed. Yi Hua let out a breath. I am already used to Yi Hua sleeping beside me, and now that he is suddenly not here, I am a bit not used to it. Your Majesty, the elders are already waiting in the main hall. A maid stood behind the curtain and said. Dong Wang Baiji stood up, and the 4 maids hurriedly walked up to her and placed the emperor robe that was on the clothes rack onto Dong Wang Baiji's body. After that, they prepared some clean water to wash up. As for the other 2 maids, they combed their hair into a bun, and finally, they put on the crown. The living empress appeared. Her beautiful face was filled with lofty majesty. Her beautiful eyes were calm, but there was a hint of sternness. The female attendants in the surroundings bowed, not daring to look directly at the empress's face, but they could also feel the empress's imposing aura. This was the correct way to activate Dong Wang Baiji. Walking out of the sleeping quarters, a group of golden-robed and silver-armored figures followed behind. Swoosh, swoosh. 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 The sound resounded throughout Voidless Realm, and it was as if the sound was telling everyone in Voidless Realm that the Empress had woken up. At this moment, everyone who had woken up looked towards the highest mountain peak and kowtowed. Dong Wang Baiji had already gotten used to this kind of lifestyle. She walked towards the palace with large strides, and on her way there, she enjoyed everyone kowtowing to her. He slowly walked up to the throne and stood on it without sitting down. Yuanda and the others, who were standing below, shouted in unison, "Greetings, Your Majesty. May the Empress live as long as the heavens. All of you, get up." Dong Wang Baiji raised her jade-like arm, then sat down. "Thank you, Your Majesty." The dozen or so people stood up and lowered their heads slightly, not daring to look directly at the face of the Empress. "What's the matter so early in the morning?" Dong Wang Baiji asked faintly. Yuanda and the others faltered. In the past, the Empress would never mention this. Isn't it all because I was pampered by Yihua? For the past few days, I have basically been sleeping with Yihua until 10 in the morning. Therefore, she was very angry when she woke up. Xing Han cupped his hands and said, Your Majesty, last night, 2 major events happened in the north. I hope Your Majesty can make a decision. Dong Huang Baiji sighed lightly. Why did something happen again? Why didn't he have so many things to do in the past? He had only left home for 2 days. Could he still leave the house quietly? It must definitely be Yihua, that miser. What is it now? Dong Huang Baiji asked faintly. He Xian said respectfully, last night, the Guan family's young master was assassinated in his house. Coincidentally, the patriarchs of the 5 great clans were having a meeting and discovered the murderer. They chased after the murderer, but unexpectedly, they saw 2 of the aristocratic clans having a bloody battle. Both sides suffered heavy losses, and the murderer looked at the patriarchs of the 4 great clans before he died. This made Guan Tong think that the murderer must have been arranged by one of the 4 great clans. Dong Huang Baiji, Yuanda, say it again. Be more detailed. Dong Huang Baiji said coldly. What is going on? First it's the murderer, then it's the aristocratic clan's bloody battle, then it's the gays. Dong Huang Baiji felt that her head was going to explode. If Yihua was able to see Dong Huang Baiji's current state, he would definitely feel great. Weren't you very arrogant when you left? If you have the ability, then stay outside for your entire life. Yuanda told Dong Huang Baiji everything that happened. This caused Dong Huang Baiji to be very angry. This Tang family and Bai family are really not obedient at all. I already said that private fights are not allowed, and they actually disregarded my words. At this moment, Yu Quan, who was standing at the back, cupped his hands and said, Your Majesty, regarding the aristocratic clan's bloody battle, it seems like it was Tang Wushuang who sent people to the Tang family's morning hall to create trouble, and that was why Bai Cixin brought people to attack Tang family. After hearing that, Dong Huang Baiji said gravely, Everyone, let's rest for an hour first. After an hour, we will continue discussing. Yes. In the past, Dong Huang Baiji was very decisive, but ever since she got a man, she became very indecisive. It seems like she would listen to everything that Yihua said, and she would do whatever Yihua said. Now that Yihua wasn't around anymore, everyone felt that it was strange. However, I can still look for Qinya to discuss with her. After all, such a thing has never happened before. Arriving at Dong Huang Li's courtyard, Qinya and Dong Huang Li woke up very early, and Dong Huang Li was currently wielding a sword that was as tall as a person. Mommy, Dong Huang Baiji shouted out, then pounced onto her mother's embrace and gave her mother a kiss. Dong Huang Baiji stroked onto her daughter's hair. Ali, continue to practice your sword. Mommy has something to discuss with Mommy Qing. Sigh, Mommy, you should go and look for Daddy. Daddy is very smart, he is able to solve Mommy's problem in an instant. Dong Huang Li was constantly thinking about Daddy and Mommy. Dong Huang Baiji said petulantly, Alright, Ali only cares about Daddy, and doesn't even love Mommy anymore. How is that possible? Ali loves Mommy. Woo. After having a warm moment with her child, Dong Huang Baiji walked to the pavilion. With a smile on her face, Qinya poured a cup of water for the Empress. What's wrong? Why do you look so gloomy this early in the morning? Dong Huang Baiji drank the cup of bejeweled jade immortal dew, then sighed and said, Something happened again last night. Ah. Dong Huang Baiji told Qinya about what happened, and after listening to Dong Huang Baiji's explanation, Qinya's brows tightly wrinkled. Qinya, do you think that Yihua is behind all of this? Dong Huang Baiji asked curiously. Qinya shook her head, I don't know either. Logically speaking, it is very normal for Tang and Bai family to fight with each other. Right now, the thing that is suspicious is that the culprit seems to have intentionally brought the 5 aristocratic families to the scene, allowing others to discover that Tang and Bai family were fighting with each other. Then, is such an action good or bad? Even if the aristocratic families don't know about it, the news would still spread today. Dong Huang Baiji voiced out the doubt that was in her heart. Chinya was also confused, then said gravely, "Right now, the most important thing is to calm down the situation. Don't let the aristocratic families start fighting with each other. Tang and Bai family should be punished." Dong Huang Baiji thought so too. "I want to go and take a look at the situation. I might be able to find some clues." Dong Huang Baiji snorted. "Do you think that the culprit is Yihua?" Chinya asked with a smile. Dong Huang Baiji clenched her teeth. "If it is really Yihua, I will bite him to death." "Baiji, isn't this a bit too light? You are only going to bite him to death?" Chinya said teasingly, then took a sip of tea. "What do you say then?" Chinya said faintly, "Make Yihua kneel on the keyboard." Chapter 369. "I agree as well, Baiji, quickly go and look for him." Dong Huang Baiji went into a daze, then dragged Chinya along. "You come with me." Chinya smiled bitterly. "There's no need for that. No matter what, we are sisters who have gone through thick and thin together, and furthermore, we are going to join hands to deal with Yihua. But a lot of people know me." Chinya said. Yi Xiao and Chu He had seen me that night. "That's true." Chinya smiled and said, "Why don't I pretend to be your maid?" Is that okay?" "I am afraid that Yihua will teach me a lesson for using his beloved as a maid." Dong Huang Baiji smiled mischievously. Chinya pinched Dong Huang Baiji. "You dare to tease me?" The two women immediately started messing around. Dong Huangli, who was at the side, put down her sword and let out a breath. "Lady is really childish. This is the first time we see the Empress acting like this. So it seems that she is actually not much different from us." When Voidless Realm spread out the news of the Empress going on an inspection tour, everyone went into an uproar. The last time the Empress went on an inspection tour was 100 years ago. That time, it was because of the matter of Dongfang family secretly hiding an ancient godly item, and the one who went on an inspection tour was Dong Huang Baiji's father. After 100 years, the Empress of Voidless Realm went on an inspection tour again. The entire north immediately became filled with a solemn atmosphere, especially the family heads of Zijin City. They were all on tenterhooks, but they were also excited. Voidless Realm's Empress. My God! He had thought that he wouldn't be able to see her in his lifetime, but he never expected that he would get the chance now. At Zijin City's international airport, a Boeing 747 landed, and the passengers who were waiting for the plane stood up one after another to size up the plane. Because there were strange and lifelike divine beasts painted on the body of the plane. "This is the first time I saw a plane with tattoos on it. This is too strange." However, the plane drove towards a private airport, and black vehicles drove into the airport one after another. Everyone was discussing, just what kind of big shot is this? Could it be that he is the president of some country? Right now, Chinya was disguised as Dong Huang Baiji's maid, and her appearance was completely changed. No one was able to see through her disguise. Looking at the 20+ phantom cars that were parked at the side, Chinya smiled and said, "Baiji, isn't this a little too big?" "Chinya, this kind of formation isn't too big. After all, I am the Empress. How can I not have a formation?" Dong Huang Baiji smiled lightly. Dong Huang Baiji was no longer wearing her imperial robe and had changed into a very professional CEO outfit. Chinya was just like a little secretary, and she was actually wearing black stockings. This was the temptation of black silk that Yihua yearned for even in his dreams. It was a pity that Yihua would not be able to see it. Chinya nodded her head. "As a big shot, I must definitely have an imposing manner when I go out." Thinking back then, Yihua's imposing manner when he went out was definitely very impressive, and the title of Act Tough King reverberated like thunder. The first ones to walk down from the stairs were Voidless Realm's guards, and the guards who were dressed in black suits were standing guard at the side. After them were Yuanda and the others. Today, it could be said that the entire Voidless Realm had moved out. The scale was unprecedented. When Dong Huang Baiji appeared at the entrance of the passenger plane, everyone felt a sense of pressure. This woman's aura is so powerful. Qinyo was standing behind Dong Huang Baiji, playing the role of a secretary. Qinyo was even wearing a pair of glasses. If Yi Hua were to see Qinya's current appearance, he would definitely not be able to hold himself back. Sometimes, Lai Gu would say a lot of things. A woman must be treated, and only when she becomes obedient will she know how powerful you are. Yu Quan, go and inform the people from the aristocratic families. The people from the aristocratic families have to have a good talk with them today. Dong Huang Baiji decided. I must definitely deal with this matter properly, if not, these problems will only appear one after another. Yu Quan bowed and said, Your Majesty, be at ease. In order to not delay Your Majesty's time, I have already arranged everything. Everyone is currently waiting for Your Majesty's appearance. Alright, let's set off then. Yes. The convoy set off towards Zijin International Hotel, which was Guantong's territory. While driving, the passers-by looked at the convoy curiously. There was no lack of nouveau riche in Zijin City, but this kind of formation was still very rare. Half an hour later, the convoy stopped at the entrance of Zijin International Hotel. The doorman immediately ran over to open the door, but he was stopped by Voidless Realm's Imperial Guard. How can you open the Empress's door? Yuanda hurriedly ran over and opened the door. Dong Huang Baiji got off the car and sized up the Empress. Qinya got off the car as well. Dong Huang Baiji didn't disguise her beauty. Her stunning appearance caused people to be dumbstruck, and the pressure that was being emitted from her body caused people to not dare to look straight at her. Let's go. No one came to welcome them, because today, they weren't here to have a heart-to-heart talk, they were here to judge a case. Yu Quan asked everyone to wait at the top floor. The group of people took the elevator and arrived at the top floor. The top floor was originally a banquet area, where some high-class banquets were held. But now, all of the luxurious facilities had been moved away, and there was only a throne placed on the rostrum, which gave off a solemn atmosphere. And below the throne stood around 100 people, and all of them were the family heads of Zijin City, as well as the people from the surrounding cities. Of course, there were also the 5 aristocratic families. Everyone didn't dare to whisper or discuss with each other, and their faces were all calm. Of course, there were also some who were excited. After all, they were going to be able to see the Empress soon. However, to Tang family and Bai family, today was the day where their family's fate would be decided. In actuality, they could already guess the result. Xiao Yi was very nervous as well. He had participated in the crime yesterday, and he didn't know what kind of punishment he would receive. If he killed the person, he would have to accept the punishment. If he didn't kill the person, he would have to accept the punishment as well. I am not willing to accept this. Tang Wushuang was still wearing a suit today, and a white ribbon was tied on his head. No matter what, I must get justice for my beloved wife today. Bai Cixin and Wang Debao were naturally present as well. The husband and wife didn't have much fear. Since we have already done it, then we should be prepared to accept the punishment. The 5 family heads stood at the front of the group. Guantong lost his beloved son yesterday, and his hair actually grew white. From this, it could be seen just how sad and indignant he was. Furthermore, he had also become skinny. When he looked at the other 4 family heads, his gaze was definitely not friendly. Furthermore, under anger, Guantong did the same thing as Bai Cixin. Chen Xuanzong was also present at the scene. Last night, he didn't know that something happened, and he only heard about it this morning. The reason why his mood was so good was because Xiao Yi was also present at the scene. When the Empress arrives, this Xiao Yi will definitely not be able to bear the consequences. Even the heavens are helping me. Within the crowd, there was a stranger that everyone didn't recognize. Perhaps, he isn't from Zijin City, and thus, no one thought too much about it. After all, the reason why they came here today was to see the Empress. However, this stranger was precisely Yi Hua. From Zhu Tian's ears, he heard that Baiji was coming to uphold justice. As a husband, he naturally had to come and see his wife's performance. Perhaps, he might even be able to swindle her a bit. Who asked you all to act cool? Hearing the sound of the elevator door, Yihua immediately looked towards the elevator door. Chapter 370. The sound of high heels suddenly rang out and echoed within the spacious banquet hall. Although it was just a simple sound, it deeply entered everyone's heart, as if that foot was stepping on everyone's head. Just this sound alone made everyone prostrate themselves in admiration. As expected of Voidless Realm's Empress, we can only kneel and lick her. A trace of a smile appeared on the corner of Yihua's mouth. So this Baiji also likes to act cool. I like women who act cool. After you all admit defeat, I will let you all live a life where you can't leave my bed. Dong Huang Baiji's figure gradually appeared in everyone's line of sight, and all of the family heads couldn't help but gasp. Is this a fairy? No, no, no. Saying that she is a fairy is blasphemy to the Empress. The Empress's appearance can no longer be described with words. The word beautiful is an insult to the Empress. At this moment, some of the family heads couldn't help but think of that woman from the auction. Her beauty is definitely comparable to the Empress. Dong Huang Baiji swept her cold gaze across everyone, and everyone immediately lowered their heads, not daring to look straight at her. The Empress has arrived. Everyone squatted down and shouted, "Eternal glory to the Empress." Yihua, who was within the crowd, had no choice but to squat down. If not, they would definitely look down on him. "Get up," Dong Huang Baiji said faintly. Yihua stood up and looked at the woman beside Dong Huang Baiji. Why does she look so familiar? A red light flashed past Yihua's eyes. So it's my Qinya. I told you to wear stockings, but you refused to wear them even if I beat you to death. I am not by your side, but you are still wearing stockings in front of so many people. I will remember this, and in the future, I will put stockings on your head. Why does it feel so weird to put stockings on your head? Dong Huang Baiji walked onto the rostrum and sat on the throne. All of the imperial guards stood guard around her, while Yuanda and the others stood 5 meters away from Dong Huang Baiji to prevent anyone from sneak attacking her. After all, if she is not in Voidless Realm, the Empress's life will be threatened. Xiao Yi felt that the Empress in front of him was very beautiful. Even when he was an immortal emperor, he had never seen such a beautiful woman before. Such a beauty is very rare in the world. If I am able to bring her into my room, it would truly be a wonderful thing. However, I only dare to think about it in my heart. Qin Xuanzong sighed. However, his heart could no longer contain any other women. Only Qinya existed in his heart. Right now, Tang Wushuang didn't have the mood to look at the Empress's appearance. He only wanted to seek justice for his beloved wife. Wang Debao couldn't help but compare the Empress with his beloved wife. Although the Empress is prettier than my wife has unlocked a lot of difficult moves, so, my wife is still the best. If Yihua were to find out about this, he would definitely feel disdain. I will allow them to completely unlock any technique, and then give me the most comfortable enjoyment. Actually, this was also the first time that the clan heads of the 5 great clans had seen the Empress in all her glory. They felt that she was much more beautiful than in the video. Back then, when Qinya and Dong Huang Baiji were fighting against Zhu Tian, someone took a video and uploaded it onto the cultivation forum, causing a huge sensation. It was just that Qinya was wearing a set of ancient godly armor that covered a wide area, so her appearance could not be seen clearly. I have come here today to settle the matter that has happened over the past few days. Dong Huang Baiji's opening speech was very simple and concise, and she did not ask about Dong Huang Baiji's well-being at all. This made Yihua acknowledge that instead of making any opening speech, it would be better to directly get to the point. Everyone present shouted out, "We respectfully obey my Empress's sacred words." Yihua suddenly had a bold idea. He immediately rushed forward, pressed the Empress under his body, and kissed her madly. I want to let these people know that the Empress is my woman. However, I will first endure it for now. I will let this group of salted fishes know about it in the future. Dong Huang Baiji waved her hand, and Yu Quan took a step forward and shouted out, "Bai Cixin." Wang Debao, Xiao Yi. Tang Wushuang. Along with Yu Quan's shout, 4 people slowly walked out from the crowd and stood in the middle of the crowd. Still not kneeling down. Yu Quan shouted out. Tang Wushuang kneeled down very decisively. The other 3 people also slowly kneeled down. Under the enormous machine that was Voidless Realm, they could only submit, nothing else. Dong Wang Baiji said faintly, I will give each of you a chance to explain yourselves. The 4 people below lowered their heads and seemed to be thinking about how to explain themselves. Everyone was looking at them, and they knew that today's matter would definitely not be settled so easily. Since the Empress asked you all to explain yourselves, you all just have to explain yourselves. Yu Quan shouted out coldly. The consequences of pretending to be mute were even more severe. Tang Wushuang was the first to speak, but when he spoke, everyone was shocked. This was clearly a woman. Thinking back then, Tang Wushuang was also a graceful and elegant young man, and could be said to be a young man with a purple gold jade face. I didn't expect that today, Tang Wushuang would be like this. This really makes people sigh endlessly. Your Majesty. Bai Cixin is cruel and merciless. She broke into the Tang residence in the middle of the night and killed our disciples. He didn't even let my beloved wife off, and Wang Debao and Xiao Yi, these 2 accomplices. I hope the Empress will uphold justice for me. Even if I, Tang Wushuang, am guilty, what did my wife do wrong? Bai Cixin snorted coldly. Your wife is not wrong. What did my little brother do wrong? When you killed my brother, you never thought that this day would come. Bai Cixin. Your brother committed suicide by jumping off a building. What does that have to do with me? My wife was killed by you. Many people can prove that. Right now, both of Tang Wushuang's eyes were completely red, and even his voice had become hoarse. It could be seen how big of a blow his beloved wife's death was to him. If you didn't insult my younger brother, would my younger brother commit suicide? You are twisting words and forcing logic. Enough. Dong Huang Baiji shouted out coldly. Tang Wushuang and Bai Cixin lowered their heads. Have you all forgotten about my Voidless Realm's command? Or are you all treating my Voidless Realm's words as farts? Dong Huang Baiji released out the power of her bloodline, instantly intimidating everyone. Even the family heads of the 5 influential families were trembling in fear, let alone the other small families. Yi Hua admired Baiji's methods very much. Sometimes, one should use force to suppress others. Baiji could be considered to have passed the test, and Qingye didn't give any evaluation. We don't dare. The 4 people said in unison. Dong Huang Baiji snorted coldly and gradually released out her killing intent. Don't dare? But you all dare. Your Majesty, it was Tang Wushuang who provoked us first. Bai Cixin hurriedly explained. Tang Wushuang said, Your Majesty, although I am in the wrong, he killed my brother-in-law and my beloved wife, just because he provoked us. He is just looking for an excuse. Transvestite Tang. Did you eat **T this morning? Your mouth stinks. Wang Debao couldn't help but shouted out. Yu Quan shouted out gravely, Wang Debao. Pay attention to your words, don't disgust the Honorable Your Majesty. Yes, yes. Wang Debao panicked. Just now, I was just being straightforward. Chapter 371. Xiao Yi. What is your motive? Dong Huang Baiji suddenly asked Xiao Yi. In actuality, this was what Qingye wanted to ask. This Xiao Yi's wife was hounded to death by Yi Hua's subordinates, and right now, he was helping someone else to kill Tang Wushuang's wife. What does this count as? Xiao Yi's behavior made Qingye a bit disappointed. To quarrel with her husband just because of him, it doesn't seem to be worth it. If Yi Hua were to know what Qingye was thinking, he would definitely scold her. Now that he knew he was wrong, what had he done back then? I am your husband. Even if I become the enemy of everyone, you have to stand behind me and support me silently. Xiao Yi took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, Tang Wushuang tried to kill me back then, so I want to kill him. Yet another person who does not place this empress in his eyes. Dong Huang Baiji said coldly. Xiao Yi quickly explained, Your Majesty, Xiao Yi wouldn't dare, but this is a rare opportunity, so I have to gamble. Then, how did you feel when you saw an innocent woman die? Dong Huang Baiji asked faintly. In actuality, this was the question that Qinya wanted to know. Yi Hua, who was within the crowd, naturally knew that Xiao Yi was not a good person. Qinya, you are really stupid. Xiao Yi's expression slightly changed. Quan Anrong's death reminded him of his wife, but for the future of the Xiao family, he had to do this. Xiao Yi calmly said, I don't feel anything. Qinya, who was standing at the back, revealed a disappointed expression. Xiao Yi's way of doing things was no different from Yi Hua's subordinates, killing someone else's woman. I suddenly feel that sometimes, Yi Hua is right. Perhaps it was really his fault. Dong Huang Baiji nodded her head, then let Yu Quan announce their punishment. Yu Quan said to the four of them, I will now carry out your punishment, and you can only accept it. Otherwise, bear the consequences. Yes. The four of them kowtowed and listened to the coming punishment. Yu Quan said faintly, Tang family and Bai family went against Voidless Realm's order and had a bloodbath in private. From now on, you are not allowed to run for the position of an aristocratic family. The scene was in an uproar. The consequences of a fight were so serious. This was too exaggerated. Of course, Dong Huang Baiji had to punish Voidless Realm severely. This matter was related to Voidless Realm's face, and what they did was equivalent to slapping Voidless Realm's face. How could Dong Huang Baiji possibly let Voidless Realm off lightly? Bai Cixin and Tang Wushuang thought that this was the only punishment, and they let out a sigh of relief, then said in unison, Thank you, Your Majesty, for not killing us. Yu Quan shouted, I haven't finished yet. This is the first crime. Everyone, Bai Cixin and Tang Wushuang hurriedly lowered their heads. Through Voidless Realm's evaluation, the three family heads are not suitable to control ancient godly items. In order to avoid harming commoners, the three family heads' ancient godly items will be taken back. Yu Quan's following words caused everyone to be shocked. Take back the ancient godly item. This was too overbearing, too unreasonable. After all, someone had risked his life to obtain this ancient godly item. How could he just hand it over just like that? Everyone was watching the movements of the three family heads. Xiao Yi couldn't believe it. He had to take back his Xianyuan sword just because he was involved in the aristocratic family competition. They were simply robbers. This was clearly an excuse. I, Xiao Yi, am not convinced. Bai Cixin slowly stretched out her palm, and the 9-story demon tower appeared in her hand. Black fog immediately swirled around it. Yu Quan opened his palm, and the 9-story demon tower landed on Yu Quan's hand. Although it was just a blink of an eye, this caused everyone to become gloomy. They had experienced the power of Voidless Realm. If I tell you to hand over the ancient godly item, you have to hand it over. Bai Cixin's choice was very wise. Tang Wushuang. Yu Quan shouted. Tang Wushuang explained, during the fight yesterday, I lost my ancient godly item. Lost? Everyone present didn't believe it. Tang Wushuang definitely hid it. Didn't you hug such an important thing to sleep with, and you actually lost it? Who are you trying to bluff? Tang Wushuang. If you dare to bluff the Empress again, everyone in your Tang family will have to die. Yu Quan let out a murderous aura. This Tang Wushuang is too unreasonable. If I hand over the ancient godly item right now, I will still be able to keep my life. Tang Wushuang was greatly startled and said in fright, Your Majesty, this lowly one doesn't dare to speak a single lie. Yesterday, my beloved wife was injured, and at that time, my mind wasn't clear. I don't know where the ancient godly item went, Your Majesty, please believe in my words. Bai Cixin snorted, Your Majesty, you mustn't believe in Tang Wushuang's words, he just wanted to keep it for himself. Bite Cixin. Don't spout nonsense. You know what you are doing. Bite Cixin sneered. Yu Quan looked towards Dong Huang Baiji. Dong Huang Baiji said faintly, Tang Wushuang, if I find out that you are lying, I will definitely not forgive you. A mirror could be seen appearing in Dong Huang Baiji's hand. Everyone was puzzled. Dong Huang Baiji said coldly, this is an ancient godly item, mirror of truth. It is able to display the image in one's mind. Tang Wushuang, this is the last time I am asking you. If I find out that you are lying, this is a crime worthy of extermination. Tang Wushuang doesn't dare to lie to your majesty. Tang Wushuang's insistence made everyone believe him. At this moment, only an idiot would deny it. All right. Along with Dong Huang Baiji raising her hand, the mirror of truth appeared in front of Tang Wushuang. Tang Wushuang looked at himself in the mirror, then slowly closed his eyes and searched for the memory of last night. As expected, an image appeared in the mirror. When Tang Wushuang saw that his beloved wife was injured, he hurriedly ran over. The ancient godly item in his hand indeed fell onto the ground, then mysteriously disappeared. The image disappeared. Dong Huang Baiji kept the mirror of truth. This Tang Wushuang didn't lie, but where did the ancient godly item go? This is too strange. Xiao Yi. Yu Quan shouted out towards the depressed Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi was struggling in his heart. If he were to hand over Xianyuan's sword, Xiao family's strength would definitely suffer a great loss. Furthermore, Xiao family's strength would also stop at the level of a family. Voidless Realm is trying to cut off all of my thoughts. Yu Quan shouted out gravely once again, Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi slowly raised his head and asked, Your Majesty, Xianyuan's sword is mine. Before Xiao Yi could finish speaking, Yu Quan interrupted him, hand over Xianyuan's sword. The atmosphere of the scene immediately became depressed. Xiao Yi's face alternated between white and red, and a struggle could be seen on his face. Since Tang family and Bai family's ancient godly item has already been taken away, the accomplice's ancient godly item must definitely be taken back. This was also Dong Huang Baiji's intention. In the end, they only have themselves to blame. Yi Hua, who was within the crowd, felt that there was nothing wrong with this kind of punishment. However, this punishment was still too light. What is the point of keeping a subordinate who doesn't obey orders? Because sooner or later, that subordinate will definitely rebel against you. After all, he once didn't put you in his eyes. Especially the current Xiao Yi. Although he was struggling in his heart, but thinking about it carefully, what was he struggling for? He was struggling to obey Voidless Realm. Chapter 372. Looking at Tang Wushuang, he immediately handed over the sword. It's just that, Xiao Yi regarded Xianyuan's sword too seriously. Back then, even though the situation was so urgent, Xiao Yi still did not hand over Xianyuan's sword, and because of this, he even fell out with Tang Wushuang. Xianyuan's sword was Xiao Yi, and asking Xiao Yi to hand over Xianyuan's sword was equivalent to handing over his soul. If a person were to even sell his own soul, could he still be considered a complete person? Everyone looked at Xiao Yi. Could it be that this person is planning to fight against Voidless Realm with his own strength? If that's the case, I am thinking too much. Xiao Yi could be heard saying softly, I am killing for the prosperity of my family. Is there anything wrong with that? Everyone was indeed very shocked. This is questioning Voidless Realm's prestige. If Xiao Yi doesn't shed a layer of skin and go out, no one will believe it. Yuanda shouted out angrily, impudent. To actually dare to question the Empress's order. Did I say anything wrong? This Xianyuan sword is something that I, Xiao Yi, exchanged with my life, and you, Voidless Realm, want me to hand it over with just a single sentence. I refuse to accept this. Xiao Yi immediately took out Xianyuan's sword. This action caused everyone to take a step back and look at Xiao Yi, who had lost his rationality vigilantly. To actually take out a weapon in front of the Empress, Yi Hua rejoiced that he fired Xiao Yi. Having a servant like Xiao Yi is just a loss of face. Dong Huang Baiji was much stronger than Xiao Yi, let alone Qinya. A green rope suddenly appeared and hooked around Xiao Yi. Ah! Xiao Yi let out a painful scream, and the Xianyuan sword in his hand fell onto the ground. At this moment, all of the family heads looked at Xianyuan's sword that was on the ground. If I were to hold on to Xianyuan's sword, how great would that be? However, they were just thinking about it. Even if I have the life to hold on to it, I won't be able to enjoy it. Yu Quan stretched out his palm and kept Xianyuan's sword. Dong Huang Baiji said faintly, Shao family's Xiao Yi has no respect for this empress and even challenged my dignity. Remove the title of your family and cripple all of your cultivation. Removing the title of his family was already cruel, but to cripple all of his cultivation, what was the difference between this and killing him? For powerful people, losing their power was more painful than killing them. It was like a billionaire going bankrupt overnight. Those who could not bear it would collapse immediately. And Xiao Yi was still thinking about increasing his cultivation so that he could revive his wife. Hearing Voidless Realm's punishment, Xiao Yi struggled and shouted out, I refuse to accept this. You have no right to cripple me. Dong Huang Baiji snorted coldly, in the northern cultivation world, I, the Empress, am the one with the highest authority, and my words are the law. I don't need to explain anything to anyone. Looking at Dong Huang Baiji's cold and arrogant expression, Yi Hua suddenly felt like teasing Dong Huang Baiji. Dong Huang Baiji is even more pretentious than me. At the same time, Dong Huang Baiji was also telling everyone that they better behave themselves. Voidless Realm's dignity must not be trampled on by anyone. Qinya, who was at the back, didn't say anything to stop him. No! Xiao Yi cried out. Xiao Yi regretted telling Qinya those things, and he regretted leaving them. If those things didn't happen, they would definitely help him now. Then he could keep the Xianyuan sword. How regretful. These were all stupid decisions. It wasn't shameful to ride on someone's coattails. What was shameful was that they still had to maintain their dignity after doing so. Dong Huang Baiji slapped her palm towards the bound Xiao Yi, and her palm landed solidly onto Xiao Yi's chest. Puff! Xiao Yi's eyes went wide and he coughed up a mouthful of blood. The spiritual energy in his body had been scattered. It was useless to gather it again. Without spiritual qi, he would at most be stronger than an ordinary person. Voidless Realm is going too far. Xiao Yi was burning with rage, and he continued to anger Dong Huang Baiji. Pull him down. Dong Huang Baiji said faintly. Whether he would live or die would depend on the quality of his body. It was not impossible for a normal person like Xiao Yi to fight 100 battles, but he would lose half his life. The truth was that ordinary people had their own benefits. With the power of the Xiao clan's businesses, they could eat for dozens of lifetimes. However, this was not the life Xiao Yi wanted. Returning to the immortal emperor realm was his goal. But now, it was impossible. A few guards carried Xiao Yi to the side and pressed him down on a bench. Iron rods appeared in their hands. It was not a wooden stick. Pa! The iron rod fiercely landed on Xiao Yi's butt, instantly tearing his pants. One had to know that the executor was no ordinary person. When Xiao Yi tasted the power of the rod, he suddenly felt dizzy and couldn't breathe. And this was only the first strike. Pa! Another rod landed, and Xiao Yi coughed out a mouthful of blood. It was only 2 strikes, and Xiao Yi's eyes were already beginning to roll back. Everyone swallowed their saliva. They were all shocked by Voidless Realm's means. Yi Hua wanted to give extra marks to Baiji. If it was a passing mark just now, then it would be 80 marks right now. Killing the chicken to warn the monkey is indeed not bad. You did not let me dote on you in vain. Seeing Qinya, who was at the side, Yi Hua let out a sigh of relief. Dong Huang Baiji was the empress, and she had to do this. The situation forced her to do this, while Qinya didn't. This was the biggest difference between the two of them. If Qingya were to become the Empress of Voidless Realm, her way of thinking would be different. However, who knows? Perhaps, Qingya had a different style. Maybe, Qingya was compassionate and used words to move Xiao Yi. Pa, the beating continued, and no one dared to beg for mercy. Xiao Yi was no longer feeling anything, and right now, he was lying on the bench like a dead person. Blood was flowing out from the corner of Xiao Yi's mouth, and a pool of blood had formed on the ground. After 100 strikes, Xiao Yi's butt was already lacerated, and it was a ghastly sight. Your Majesty, the execution is complete. The guard reported respectfully. Dong Wang Baiji said, inform the family members to come and pick them up. Yes. Shu Nan and Yu Qi were both waiting in the side hall. The side hall was filled with the family members of the family masters. Of course, there were also some family masters who were not qualified. For example, Qingya's father, Qing Huaxian, was also present. He didn't come on his own, but was summoned by Yi Shao. The guard opened the door to the side hall, and all the family members were stunned. Is Xiao Yi's family here? Come and get him. The guard shouted coldly. Shu Nan and Yu Qi had a bad feeling about this. What did he mean by, take people away? They hurried to follow him. When they saw their husband being carried out, Shu Nan and Yu Qi were shocked. Last night, Xiao Yi went back in disgust with Shu Nan, but Shu Nan didn't expect the consequences to be so serious. If Xiao Yi hadn't resisted just now, he would have only lost the ancient godly item and his family's title. He would still have his strength, but unfortunately, he had courted death. Nazuono bring. Shu Nan hurriedly checked her husband's pulse. Seeing that Xiao Yi still had a trace of life left in him, Shu Nan stuffed a pill into Xiao Yi's mouth, then carried her husband and left. In actuality, what Xiao Yi felt the most fortunate about was that he had a wife like Shu Nan, who was willing to do anything for him. When the family members in the side hall saw that Xiao Yi was beaten into a dog's leash, they immediately felt that the situation wasn't good. They hoped that their husband wouldn't cause any trouble. This act-tough King Xiao Yi must have been acting tough inside, if not, how could he have ended up in such a miserable state? Chapter 373. The banquet hall was dead silent, and no one dared to even breathe loudly. Xiao Yi was one of the best in the family, and in just an instant, a ferocious dragon turned into a snake, Xianyuan's sword was gone, and his cultivation was even crippled. This allowed everyone to witness the cold side of Voidless Realm, or rather, the iron-blooded side of the Empress. One must know that not long ago, the Empress was crowned with the title of heroine, and she disregarded everything to save the South from a crisis. This made everyone think that the Empress was a kind person, and she would definitely not kill people. However, everyone misunderstood the Empress's actions wrongly. Dong Wang Baiji was not a kind person, she was just carrying the prestige of Voidless Realm on her back. This was different from Qingya's benevolence. In actuality, Yihua already knew about Qingya's benevolence. In the past, Yihua already had this kind of inclination, but he didn't take it to heart. He just treated it as pity for a nobody. However, Qingya actually spoke up for Xiao Yi. This made Yihua angry, really angry. The kind that can't be coaxed. Right now, Tang Wushuang, Bai Cixin, and Wang Debao were trembling with fear. They were very surprised by Xiao Yi's punishment. Even an accomplice ended up like this, and the mastermind is still being dragged out to be beheaded? Yu Quan continued to pronounce the sentence. Remove the titles of Tang family and Bai family. If you use your identity to kill people in the future, you will definitely be severely punished. Thinking back to Xiao Yi's appearance just now, the three didn't dare to resist in the slightest. Thank you, Your Majesty, for your magnanimity, we will solemnly obey Your Majesty's orders. The three hurriedly kowtowed and thanked. This made everyone exclaim in admiration. Even after being punished to such an extent, they still have to kowtow and thank. Yihua felt that he had to add another 5 points to Baiji. Not bad, not bad, not bad, not bad, not bad. If only Qinya was half as outstanding as Baiji, I wouldn't have to worry so much. Donghuang Baiji waved her hand and signaled the three to move to the side. Everyone sighed. The mastermind was still rational, but the accomplice was too arrogant, and he ended up being beaten up badly. However, no matter what, he was still the act-tough king. If he were to lose face in such a situation, how could he be willing to continue living in the underworld? At the very least, he should have said a few words and let everyone see the act-tough king's attitude. In the end, the empress was not a kind person at all. Bai Cixin and Wang Debao retreated to the back of the crowd. Wang Debao held his wife's hand tightly and comforted her. Exhaustion could be seen on Bai Cixin's charming face. So many years of hard work, and in just a single sentence from Voidless Realm, all of her hard work had turned into bubbles. It had to be said that Wang Debao, this prodigal, was very lucky. At least when he was present, Xiao Yi's situation didn't happen. Wife, since there's no place for us in the north, let's go to the south. Wang Debao said in a low voice as he gently hugged his wife's waist. Bai Cixin turned around and looked at her husband. She seemed very puzzled. Wang Debao was very proud. This was the first time he saw his wife look at him like this. Honey, I've been your husband for so long. Naturally, I've learned a few tricks. Debao, thank you. Bai Cixin gently leaned into her husband's embrace. At a time like this, she could only rely on her husband. Wang Debao kissed his wife's forehead. Silly, we are husband and wife. When she heard her husband's affectionate words, Bai Cixin hugged him even tighter. Wang Debao felt that he would definitely unlock a few more difficult moves when he returned tonight. Hang upside down right now, Tang Wushuang was also thinking about going to the south to develop. After all, he couldn't stay in the north anymore. There was another person in the group who was secretly delighted, and that person was Chen Xuanzong. When he saw Xiao Yi being beaten half to death, he felt extremely refreshed in his heart, and he wished that Xiao Yi would be beaten to death. However, this wasn't enough to dispel his hatred. Back then, Xiao Yi killed his entire family, so I have to kill his entire family as well. Right now, Xiao Yi's Shenyuan sword was gone, and his cultivation was gone as well. Right now, he was just like a fish on the chopping board. Donghuang Baiji let out a sigh of relief. This family's matter can be considered to be settled. Right now, it's time to settle the family's matter. Just as Donghuang Baiji was about to ask, Yi Shao suddenly knelt down and said gravely, Your Majesty, my son Yi Tai has already been missing for a long time. I reckon that he has already been poisoned. Right now, the suspect is Chu family's son, Chu Bai. Chu he didn't expect that Yi Shao would actually play such a dirty trick and shouted out, Yi Shao. My son has already said it very clearly, he didn't kill him at all. Who knows if your son said anything or not? Perhaps, he might have killed my son and sage doctor and taken that beauty for himself. Bullshit. Donghuang Baiji was bewildered. Why did something like this happen again? Speak clearly. Chu he cupped his hands and said, Your Majesty, let my son speak, he will be able to speak more clearly. Approved. Qinya, who was at the back, knew what happened. That day, I indeed didn't kill them, and now, they have gone missing again. Could it be that it's the jealous king again? The possibility of it being the jealous king is very high. That stingy fellow, he definitely hid behind me and got rid of me. Although Qinya didn't have any evidence, Qinya's intuition told her that it was definitely Yihua who did it. At the family area outside, the Imperial Guard appeared once again. This caused all of the women to be worried to death, and they were afraid that someone would be called to bring Chu Bai back. Chu family's Chu Bai. All of the family members were startled. I didn't expect that even the people from the aristocratic families would be called over. Something big must have definitely happened. Chu Bai kept his folding fan, took a deep breath, then followed the Imperial Guard into the banquet hall. After kneeling down in front of the Empress, Chubai recounted everything that had happened. Right now, we need to find those two women and have them testify against each other. Yi Xiao said faintly. Chu He snorted coldly, where are you going to find them? Although I didn't manage to find those two women, I did manage to find their father. Yi Xiao's words were practically digging his own grave. Another no. Zuono, a man with a woman. Dong Wang Baiji still didn't know about what happened that day, and thus, she approved of it. The Imperial Guard went to summon people again, and the people in the family area felt that something was wrong. Qing Huaxian. There were a lot of people who didn't recognize Qing Huaxian. After all, he wasn't someone from the circle. However, right now, Qing Huaxian was very excited. He was completely unaware of what was going to happen, and he was still excited. That's me. The Empress summons me. Everyone was filled with envy. The Empress summons me, how lucky is that? Carrying along a nervous yet excited mood, Qing Huaxian followed behind the Imperial Guard. He is obviously a big boss, but right now, he is acting like a young man who has never seen the world. When he walked into the banquet hall, Qing Huaxian swallowed his saliva. This scene is too big. Those family heads that I normally wouldn't be able to see are all standing at the side and looking at me. And the family head that is standing at the very front, oh my God. My luck is really too good. And the woman on the rostrum, oh my God, she is so beautiful, she is so imposing. When Qinya heard that Yi Xiao was going to call her father, her expression immediately became bad, and when she saw her father walking in, she didn't know what to say. Chapter 374. But because of what happened that day, he actually called his father over. It was really hateful. Qing Huaxian could be seen trembling with fear as he stood in the middle, curiously observing. Qinya hurriedly told Dong Wang Baiji about Qing Huaxian's identity. After knowing that the man in front of her was Qinya's father, Dong Wang Baiji expressed that she understood. Why aren't you paying your respects after seeing the Empress? Yu Quan said indifferently. Although he spoke very calmly, there was still a wave of pressure that swept over, causing Qing Huaxian to feel even more pressure. Forget it. Dong Wang Baiji said faintly. There was an uproar. They didn't know why the Empress would let it go. However, Qing Huaxian did not think like that. The person in front of him is the Empress, he definitely has to kneel down. He knelt with a thud. Greetings, Your Majesty. Dong Wang Baiji felt helpless. Qinya, your father is too radical. Qinya knew that her father wanted to curry favor with Dong Wang Baiji. Alright, get up and tell me what you know. Qing Huaxian told the story of how Sage Doctor came to their house that night, and then brought his two daughters out of the house. In the end, Chu Bai sent his two daughters home. Where are your two daughters now? Yi Xiao asked. Of course Qing Huaxian knew about it. In that leisure bar in Long City. However, he was interrupted by Dong Wang Baiji. Dong Wang Baiji said faintly, I understand, you can leave now. Yi Xiao said in a deep voice, but we haven't asked clearly yet. Qing Huaxian seemed to have felt that his daughter had gotten into trouble, and he hurriedly knelt down and kowtowed, Your Majesty, please spare my life. Although my daughter is naughty, she is not to the extent of getting into trouble. There must definitely be some misunderstanding. Looking at her father's sudden action, Qinya was filled with guilt. All these years, she didn't like her father marrying two women, and felt that it was unfair to her mother. However, seeing how her father was acting, Qinya felt that she had misunderstood her father. Although her father was a bit snobbish, deep down in his bones, he still cared about her and her sister. Alright, this Empress understands. You can leave first. Dong Wang Baiji said again. As for Qing Huaxian, he explained while retreating, saying that his daughter would not be a murderer, and even if she had killed someone, it would be because he, as a father, did not discipline his daughter well, and he was willing to take the blame for his daughter. As a father, Qing Huaxian received everyone's affirmation. When Dong Wang Baiji heard the news that Qinya sent over, she was a bit surprised. However, she still said, Yi Shao. Since you want to find those two women so badly, this empress will fulfill your wish. One of them is here. Yi Shao was overjoyed. Thank you, Your Majesty. Everyone was waiting for the empress to speak, but the female attendant behind her took a step forward. His appearance slowly changed, and when his true appearance was revealed, everyone present was dumbfounded. Qin Xuanzong felt as if he was struck by lightning. Qingya had actually become the empress's maid. How is this possible, that Long Outyan is even more unworthy of Qingya? When these two women stood together, even the sun and moon would have to hide. The corner of Yi Zhao's mouth twitched a bit. This woman was actually the empress's personal maid. Looking at the current situation, many people understood. No wonder those people were so respectful during the auction. So this woman had the support of the empress behind her. On the day of the auction, Yu Quan wanted to sit beside this woman. It turned out that they already knew each other. When Bai Cixin saw Qingya, she seemed to have thought of the owner of the bar. This time, when I return to the south, I should pay a visit to the owner of the bar. Yi Zhao's face sunk. I brought the empress's personal maid's father over to threaten you, seriously. However, this can't be counted as a threat, it was just a process of questioning, and I didn't use any torture. Fortunately, the empress came over today, if not, if I were to use torture, would really be finished. However, on the day of the auction, why did this female attendant appear at the scene? Could it be that she was sent over by the empress to probe? Or could it be that she was sent over by the empress to investigate something? Qingya's appearance made everyone believe Chu Bai's words. After all, she was the empress's maid, and her strength was definitely not ordinary. It was normal for her to be able to defeat Yi Tai and Song Huang. And with the empress vouching for her, the two people who disappeared definitely had other reasons. However, everyone didn't know that the murderer was in cahoots with them. Right now, it was the husband who killed the murderer, and they were the ones who washed their butts. The other family heads also knew that this matter wasn't simple. The empress actually sent a female attendant to probe. What is the meaning of this? Yi Shao, my people naturally wouldn't kill your son, you still need to investigate this matter. Dong Huang Baiji said gravely. Yi Shao didn't dare to speak too much. What the empress said is extremely true, I was thinking too much. Chu Bai was also very surprised. I didn't expect that Qingya was actually the empress's maid. After today, this Qing family is going to become popular. Qinghua Xian was indeed popular, and it was so popular that Qinghua Xian was baffled. Those family heads who couldn't meet Qinghua Xian one after another came to pay a visit to Qinghua Xian one after another. On the other hand, Tang family, Bai family, and Shao family weren't as popular as they were back then. The world is so realistic, don't feel despair because of the current situation, perhaps tomorrow will be even more despairing. Seeing that Qingya stood out, Yi Hua gave her 2 points. Guan Tong knelt onto the ground with a plop. Empress, you have to uphold justice for me. My son was assassinated last night, and before the assassin died, he took a glance at them. He definitely didn't dare to say it out loud, but it was already very clear. Guan Tong, have you gone senile? You actually believe the words of this assassin. Duan Ho was wearing a veil today, in order to prevent her appearance from scaring the empress. Jiang Yuanzhou said faintly, that's right, perhaps, it was someone else who tried to sow discord between us. It was definitely you, Jiang Yuanzhou. Guan Tong suddenly pointed at Jiang Yuanzhou and shouted out, looking at Jiang Yuanzhou as if saying, you are the assassin, I have already seen through you. Jiang Yuanzhou was also angered to the point that he glared at Guan Tong. Guan Tong, are you sick? Alright, stop quarreling. Dong Huang Baiji stopped the two family heads from quarreling. No matter what, they are the family heads of aristocratic families, and they have to pay attention to their image. Since the empress had spoken, everyone had to quiet down. I also know a little about what happened last night. Guan Tong, although you are feeling the pain of losing your son, you cannot determine who the assassin is just because of a glance from the assassin. You have to investigate this matter carefully. Guan Tong immediately propped himself up and shouted out, Empress, it was definitely one of the four of them. You definitely have a way to make them confess to their crimes. Dong Huang Baiji was clearly acting shamelessly, and this gave Dong Huang Baiji a headache. The other party's son had already died. Am I supposed to scold him? At this moment, Duan Ho suddenly said, Empress, I feel that this matter is not a small matter. Yi family's son went missing, and Guan family's son was murdered for no reason at all. Could it be that someone is plotting against the north? Even Duan Ho thought this way. Yi Hua's figure immediately appeared in Dong Huang Baiji's and Qin Ye's mind. If something bad happened, it would definitely be related to Yi Hua. Yi Hua, who was within the crowd, decided to deduct 10 points from each of them. You don't even have any evidence, and yet you are still thinking about it. You are truly stupid. That's right, a lot of things have happened recently, and although they seem to be unrelated to each other, they seem to be related to each other. Everyone, you have to raise your vigilance. Dong Huang Baiji was also unable to understand the current situation. Is it Yi Hua, or is it someone else? Should I go and ask Yi Hua? We are currently in the middle of a cold war. If anyone were to open their mouth, wouldn't that mean that they have lost? But Guan Tong still wanted to continue speaking, but he was stopped by Yu Quan. Empress is already tired. Later on, Empress will naturally send someone to investigate this matter. You all can just calmly wait for the result. Return. Before Yu Quan could finish his sentence about returning to Voidless Realm, someone interrupted him. To be precise, it wasn't a person, rather, the door was opened, and a man and a woman walked in. Chapter 375. Naturally, the ones who appeared at the door were Zhu Tian and Dongfang Yuan. Facing so many people, Dongfang Yuan was a little timid. However, the heat from Absolute Heaven's hand gave Dongfang Yuan a lot of courage. With Absolute Heaven here, she would feel more at ease. This wasn't the first time that Yi Hua saw Dongfang Yuan. That day during the auction, Yi Hua had also taken a glance at Dongfang Yuan, but he didn't take a good look at her. Looking at her today, Zhu Tian's eyesight was pretty good. That delicate appearance of hers made people want to protect her. That didn't seem right. Compared to protecting her, bullying her was the correct way to unlock her. Absolute Heaven was blessed. This was his blessing as the boss. This girl was not bad. But to others, these two people had barged into the meeting without permission, and they should be punished. Who are you? Do you know what this place is? Hey, isn't this a woman from the Bai clan? Why did you change your man? Her man is dead, how can she not change? Yu Quan looked at the two people at the door and shouted, Her Majesty the Empress allows you to explain. Zhu Tian held Dongfang Yuan's hand and walked forward with absolute confidence. Looking at the two madams, Zhu Tian knelt on one knee, and Dongfang Yuan, who was beside him, also knelt and lowered her head. Respected Empress, I came here with no ill intentions. Knowing that his honor was present, Zhu Tian naturally wouldn't be disrespectful towards his honor's madams. Even if his honor wasn't present, Zhu Tian still had to show respect to the madams. This was something that a subordinate should do. Everyone thought that this man was here to cause trouble. They thought that they could watch a good show before they left, but it turned out that he was just a coward. Dong Huang Baiji said faintly, This Empress allows you to state your purpose for coming here. Thank you, Your Majesty. Zhu Tian stood up, looked at Dongfang Yuan, and said, This girl is my woman, her matters are my matters, her grievances are my anger, her grievances will be washed by me. Her surname is Dongfang. Today we are here to participate in the aristocratic family election. Saying so, a dagger appeared in Absolute Heaven's hand, floating in the air. The whole place was in chaos. Tang Wushuang cried out in surprise, My ancient godly item. Zhu Tian said faintly, This is Dongfang family's ancient godly item. Everyone's brains weren't enough to process it, and there were even whispers of discussion. As for the 5 great clans, the patriarchs' expressions were gloomy, because they could feel that the newcomers did not come with good intentions. They were here for the 5 great clans. Yu Quan took over the tomb, then bowed and passed it to Dong Huang Baiji. Dong Huang Baiji looked at the ancient godly item that was in her hand, and her brain was about to explode. Why did something happen again? Can't you just let me have some peace? Qinya wrinkled her brows. Why do I feel that this man looks a bit familiar? Tang Wushuang walked out from the crowd, then hurriedly kowtowed and shouted, Your Majesty, this is the ancient godly item that I lost. Dong Huang Baiji took a deep breath. This ancient godly item, where did you get it from? You guys might not believe me, but I picked it up, Absolute Heaven said calmly. Looking at those sincere eyes of his, it didn't seem like he was lying. Tang Wushuang was the first one who couldn't take it anymore. He pointed at Tang Wushuang and shouted, You are the one who picked me up. I'm sorry. I don't have the spirit of not pocketing money that I picked up, Absolute Heaven said indifferently. Tang Wushuang wasn't convinced, and she questioned with her delicate voice, You're acting shamelessly. Everyone knows that it isn't easy to obtain an ancient godly item, but in the end, it can't be that I have to return it to you after I snatch it from you. There doesn't seem to be such a rule, right? Besides, I didn't even snatch it from you, I only picked it up, that's all. Absolute Heaven's argument was indeed correct. Ancient godly items indeed had to be snatched by others, and whoever had the ability to obtain them would be able to obtain them. Tang Wushuang was very unconvinced, and he hurriedly cupped his hands towards Dong Huang Baiji and said, Your Majesty, please investigate this matter clearly. This ancient godly item was something that you wanted to keep. Tang Wushuang remained silent and waited for Dong Huang Baiji's reply. His honor was waiting for the madams to make a fool of themselves, and if that didn't happen, his honor would be very disappointed. In actuality, Dong Huang Baiji was discussing with Qinya whether to keep the ancient godly item or to let it go. Qinya, what do you think? I don't know how to judge as well, I don't really understand the rules of your voidless realm. Dong Huang Baiji was very vexed. This ancient godly item was supposed to be confiscated, but Tang Wushuang lost it, and today, someone brought it over to participate in the election. Everyone looked towards Dong Huang Baiji, waiting for the Empress's final decision. Yi Hua was also watching excitedly. This is the finale of the show, who asked you all to be mischievous? After a short while, Dong Huang Baiji had an answer in her heart, and she said faintly, This is the ancient godly item that I wanted to confiscate. Since you all brought it over to participate in the election, it naturally doesn't count. However, I still have to thank you all for bringing it over to the ancient godly item. I will naturally not treat you all unfairly. Dong Huang Baiji's way of doing things seemed to be very clear. Since I accepted the ancient godly item, I will be giving you face. Zhu Tian was very satisfied with his wife's answer. After all, if I don't accept his wife's answer, I won't be able to complete the mission that his honor gave me. Tang Wushuang didn't know why, but he let out a sigh of relief. Yi Hua, who was within the crowd, was very excited. Let me let you all be arrogant, let me let you all be arrogant. Obediently refuse to be my wife, and yet, you all insist on coming out to act cool. Watch how I will slap your faces. Just when everyone thought that Zhu Tian would compromise, Zhu Tian said something that caused everyone to exclaim in admiration. Is this how Voidless Realm bullies the weak? Immediately, the crowd went into an uproar. This is simply the second Shao Yi, and later on, this Voidless Realm will definitely die. What a lesson from the past. How dare you? Yuanda roared, and the pressure from his body automatically spread out. How could some of the weaker patriarchs withstand it? Step down. Dong Huang Baiji said faintly. Yuanda fiercely glared at Absolute Heaven, his words carrying a serious warning. Dong Huang Baiji said faintly, My voidless realm has always been reasonable. How shameless. He had just crippled someone, and now he was trying to reason with them. Zhu Tian nodded and said, Lady Empress is naturally a reasonable person, I believe in you. This high hat is being put on, Lady Empress. May I ask who was the previous owner of this primordial godly item? Zhu Tian asked. Dong Wang Baiji naturally knew about it, and she said gravely, the Dongfang family from 100 years ago. After the Dongfang family's tragedy, how should we deal with this ancient godly item? Zhu Tian continued to ask. As expected of Absolute Heaven's brain. With just a few words, he was able to turn a matter that had happened in the past into a tragedy. This caused those who heard him to feel puzzled. Just what kind of tragedy had happened 100 years ago? What's wrong with the Dongfang family? Everyone has their own curiosity, especially when it comes to the gossip of those in power. Dong Wang Baiji wouldn't fall for Absolute Heaven's trick. Back then, Dongfang family was guilty of secretly possessing an ancient godly item, and the evidence was conclusive. Thus, the ancient godly item was naturally taken back by Voidless Realm, just that, this dagger had disappeared. Zhu Tian silently nodded his head, slowly luring Dong Wang Baiji's wife to fall for his trick. In that case, this dagger is the evidence, and it is the ancient godly item that Voidless Realm is going to take back. Zhu Tian asked. Dong Wang Baiji felt that something was wrong, but she still said, that's right. Then, may I ask Honorable Lady Empress, why is this kind of evidence able to enter the aristocratic family's election when it fell into Tang Wushuang's hands, but not when it fell into Dongfang family's descendants' hands? Both of them are going to take back the ancient godly item, so why is the result different? Zhu Tian had prepared for so long just to say this sentence. However, when Zhu Tian said this sentence, the entire place became deathly silent. This is a direct slap to the face. Dong Wang Baiji's face immediately darkened, and Qingya's expression also changed. Meanwhile, when Yihua saw his wife's expressions, he felt great in his heart. Am I still formidable? Am I still formidable? You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.